Last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a good karma brand station. Time for the Bucks to take these so-called NBA champions down a peg.
He uncorks a three, and he hits it at the horn. Game time at the end of the third quarter.
The Bucks are in Denver with coverage of the game starting tonight at 7:30 on your home of the Bucks. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 9:02, it's 33 degrees, mostly cloudy today, a high of 42. Rain, snow mix overnight tonight with a low of 35. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Adam Roberts. A fire at a West Allis apartment overnight, leaving a teenager with severe burns. Officials responding to the home near 71st and Orchard say a 17-year-old boy fell asleep and had left a candle burning. The teen woke up when the back of his shirt caught on fire, suffering second-degree burns to half of his back as well as his thumb. Additionally, officials say it does not appear there were working smoke detectors in the home at the time of the fire. In court today, a judge will consider whether to release one of the women charged in the Slenderman case from 2014. An attorney for Morgan Geyser has requested her release from Winnebago Mental Health Institute. She and Anissa Wire had stabbed Peyton Leitner in Davids Park in 2014 after a sleepover, allegedly to please the fictional character Slenderman. Wire was granted her conditional release in 2021. President Biden saying the United States will respond in a time and manner of its choosing to the deadly drone strike against a U.S. base in Jordan near the border with Syria. ABC News correspondent Karen Travers tells Wisconsin's Morning News what that response will look like is still uncertain this morning.
That is going to be a big topic of conversation at the White House briefing today, no doubt, about what the U.S. would do. Has the U.S. response to these Iranian proxy attacks so far been not enough, as some members of Congress have been saying, and what should come next in order to stop this? Travers also says the topic of a potential hostage release will be discussed at today's briefing as well. A deadly school mass shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, the subject of a court hearing today.
A Nashville judge is expected to set a trial date today in the legal battle over whether or not to release the writings of a 28-year-old man who shot and killed 6 people, 3 students and 3 staff members, at the Covenant School in Nashville in late March of last year. The gunman, who was fatally shot by police, attended the school. Those who favor releasing the writings say they could help experts better understand mass shootings and create policies to stop them. Opponents argue the writings would instead inspire other school shootings. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
And Milwaukee County supervisors are demanding answers from the zoo, Milwaukee County Zoo that is, as to why a proposed penguin exhibit will cost around $1.5 million more than initially proposed. At a Committee on Parks and Culture meeting last week, Supervisor Steve Taylor was critical of a design error with the exhibit's sand filters.
Now you want basically 20% of our contingency in the first month of the year. Somebody said should roll for that kind of mistake of missing the boat on the size of a filter. I mean, holy cow.
The committee rejected the request Tuesday. Supervisor Stephen Shea was the lone vote in support, but even he had this to say to zoo leadership.
Please don't come back to us for more money anytime soon like this.
Ultimately, the County Finance Committee granted the request, which will go to the full board later this month for final approval. Time for news about your money. The WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Still green for the majors, though more modest than about a half hour ago. The Dow Jones up 19 points at 38,129, while the S&P 500 is actually down a few points from the opening bell, but still up about 2 on the day to 4,894, and the Nasdaq up 5 points to 15,463. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite, financial planning at every level. Details at annexwealth.com. The Bucks head west to Denver. We'll have that, plus a look at the roads and your 5-day forecast up next. Signing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:06.
The pain was so bad I could barely walk. And now after stem cell treatment, I run marathons.
Now, this is an exaggeration, but I do hear about unbelievable miracle outcomes, and I have to ask, do you really believe them? If they were true, these biological treatments wouldn't even have to be advertised. Truth is, stem cell effectiveness is nowhere near 100%. It's expensive, and it doesn't last. At Rejuvenex, our FDA-approved pharmacological treatments ease inflammation and reduce pain. They're precisely administered to where your pain lives, and they work. Will the pain reduction last forever? No. But in some cases, relief has lasted as long as 24 months, and in most cases, insurance has paid for the treatments entirely. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, where we can alleviate your pain and rejuvenate your life.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
This is a story about how Walker Media Agency even makes rivets exciting. Vince Vitrano here. When you work with Matt Walker and his team, they get your company website working for you. Prairie Rivet in South Central Wisconsin, their website didn't even list all of the rivets they so proudly produce online. Walker Media Agency built a site for them that tells their story, highlights company leaders, and if you need rivets, a full description of what Prairie makes and how to order them. Have Walker Media Agency build your company a site that works as hard as you do. Find them at WalkerWTMJ.com.
For WTMJ contest rules, visit WTMJ.com/contests.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
After dominating the Pelicans on Saturday night, the Bucks are back out in the Mile High City tonight to take on the Nuggets. 32-14 Bucks will welcome in Doc Rivers to make his debut as head coach beginning tonight.
We all know what he brings. You know, we heard his voice, him coaching other teams. You know, he's had success. Played in this league. He went to school in this city. Been around a long time as a coach. You know, he's coached a lot of great players. So I think you would have a hard time thinking of something that he hasn't experienced.
Milwaukee will look to begin their 5-game West Coast road trip tonight with an 8 p.m. tip time in Denver. Super Bowl 58 is all set. The 49ers knocking off the Detroit Lions Sunday 34-31. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes heading back to the Super Bowl after the Chiefs knocked off the Ravens 17-10. It'll be a rematch from 4 years ago, Niners-Chiefs, February 11th from Las Vegas. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Checking your roads, your WTMJ Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic. We have a clear map right now across the system. We have full freeway speeds and no incidents to report. You are good to go.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
While you're navigating the roads as quickly and safely as possible, if you see something we should know about, call the WTMJ Hall Mazda Traffic Tip Line at 414-238-9329.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast, mostly cloudy today. Evening showers could arrive around 6-7 p.m., a high of 42 today. Those showers will mix with some snow overnight tonight and a low of 35. Drizzle in a mix early, possible on Tuesday with a high of 40. Up into the mid-40s both Wednesday and Thursday. Partly cloudy for your Friday with a high of 38 degrees. In Madison right now it's 28, in Green Bay 29. Waukesha checking in at 29 as well. And in Milwaukee we've got partly cloudy skies and 33 degrees. I'm Adam Roberts, signing Unlimited WTMJ News Time 9:09.
Win or lose, are we feeling the love this morning? Well, now that we've had time to sleep on it, let's talk about it. It's time for Monday Morning Quarterback on WTMJ Now.
Playoffs.
Happy Monday morning. This is WTMJ Now. You are not hearing the voice of one Steve Scafidi. Steve's got a Monday off. He turned it into a nice little 3-day weekend, even though it was only Conference Championship Sunday and not Super Bowl Sunday. I am Joe Zepecki, alongside my friend Bill McCoshen. How you doing this morning, Bill?
I'm doing great.
This is not the political power hour. This is the
We'll get to it, though.
Monday Madness with Bill and Joe. I don't know. It's WTMJ Now. We are going to do a little version of the political power hour in the second hour today, but we have a very special guest this first hour to talk about the weekend that was in sports, because Super Bowl 58 is set. The Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers running back Super Bowl 54. Say hello to Brandon Snide. Welcome, Brandon. Good to have you, man.
It's good to be here.
Special edition of Monday Morning Quarterback.
Gone. Uncle Stevie's gone. We can have a little
Dad's
bit of fun.
away. And the boys will play.
Yeah.
Where do we want to start here? I'll make my joke about 2024 is going to be a rematch of 2020 on the political front and the Super Bowl front. We start in AFC or NFC?
I think you got to start in the AFC.
AFC, that was game 1 yesterday. Yeah. Kansas City traveled to Baltimore. It was only Patrick Mahomes' second road game in, 17 playoff games? Walk us through it. What, as expected, surprised?
I think if you haven't yet, and I already did this, I'm trying to think when I exactly did this, probably last year. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He is. He's the greatest.
Better than Brady.
He's better than Brady. He's only been in the NFL for 6
28
seasons.
years old, right?
And
this is his 4th Super Bowl.
And he's made the conference championship
every year.
6 out of 6 years.
6 out of 6 years, every year. This was quote unquote a down year for him, and in a year where the AFC was up. Josh Allen was better. Lamar Jackson, was going to win the MVP for whatever that's worth. Joe Burrow obviously had a couple injuries, but the AFC was a better conference. The Chiefs lost, a little bit, or so that's what people thought. Eric Bieniemy went to Washington, their offensive coordinator. Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. I know, Kelsey's Kelce, but if you watch him, you're yeah, he's just not the same from a physical standpoint. And they just didn't really have it all year. Until yesterday. He didn't really have it all year. I mean, the team, they really didn't have it all year, but you go in against Baltimore, and I made a bet with my dad because he's a big John Harbaugh fan, and he loves Baltimore. He loves Lamar Jackson. I'm like, I will bet you lunch that Kansas City wins. And he goes, why? And I go, I will never, and I learned this with Tom Brady, bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's the best player on any field.
I think that's right.
I assume Baltimore was favored, though, at home.
What surprised? Actually, it went to 4.5.
Was it 4.5?
Yeah.
Did you anticipate Kansas City's defense showing out like that? Because that's what surprised me. When you think Kansas City, when you think Patrick Mahomes, you're thinking up and down the field, they'll go 3/4 of the game and never have to use their punter. And, I didn't watch much of that first game, so I'm relying on you guys. I was coaching basketball, but I'm peeking at my phone every once in a while. I'm like, it's the third quarter, and Baltimore's only got 7 points. How did Kansas City's defense step up? Because 17 points for the Chiefs is not their usual outing. They're in the 20s or 30s
Especially
week in, week
home.
out. So how did Kansas City do it? Was it their defense was that dominant, or was Baltimore making mistakes?
2 things. Number 1, they turned Lamar Jackson into a quarterback. And kind of like what you do in Chicago, once you do that, you take away
his greatest weapon.
You take away his biggest weapon.
Yeah.
He can throw the ball, don't get me wrong. But unless a guy's running wide open or he's breaking sack tackles and he's, running around in the pocket and creating something with his feet, he's not going to sit back in the pocket and pick you apart.
Nope.
And number 2, Steve Spagnuolo has been really, really good this year.
Agreed.
Other than against Jordan Love, who is the only one to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes this year and beat him. Just throwing that out there into the universe. Couple touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. Anyway, so he called a really good game. And they were down 2 of the, better defender players. Chris Jones went down in that game. Felt like every other play he was going down. Their stud D tackle. Willie Gay did not play in that game. That's a starting linebacker. So they had advantages all over the field. And I don't know. Baltimore just it looked like Lamar Jackson never seen a blitz before. Because every time Spags would bring a blitz, he wouldn't know what to do.
So again, I didn't watch it. Late turnovers though. So
triple coverage, interception into the end zone. They had Baltimore was going in. They would have, I believe, they would have tied it. I don't know if it was
the
17.
Zay Flowers taunting penalty.
The taunting penalty. Then the next play, he catches a touchdown or catches a pass over the middle, reaches for the end zone,
fumbles,
and they knocked the ball out. And that at that moment, it was 6 minutes left in the game. You're like, yeah, that's probably it. That's probably the game because they had the momentum. They were starting to grab it. They shut the Chiefs. Didn't score in the second half.
I was going to say. I mean, they went right down the field. Before I went to practice, I saw Kelce with the first touchdown grab. Said, how did the Ravens control the Chiefs' offense the rest of the game? And what do we anticipate with a 49ers defense that has looked day and night, right? They got run. We'll get to that second game, but the Packers and the Lions were able to move the ball against the Niner defense. What can they learn from what Baltimore was able to do in the second half?
Well, I think for the Chiefs is everything's dependent on Travis Kelce. They don't have that number 1 guy. MVS is just, I know he caught the game clinching. Of course, the one pass MVS catches is the one that you're like, there's no way he's catching that, and he does. And it still looks stressful watching him play, and I'm not even a Chiefs fan.
Rashee Rice isn't a number 1?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But again, you don't think you need one. I think they're taking on what Green Bay kind of took on this year. It's going to be Rice's day. It's going to be MVS's day. And yesterday was Kelsey's day. When Patrick Mahomes threw that first touchdown to Kelce, I looked at my wife, and I'm like, they're not losing. He started the game off 10 for 10.
Wow. I think it was 11 for 11.
It might have been 11 for 11. Yeah, I think his 12th. I think you're right.
Yeah,
his 12th pass was incomplete. When he's locked in like that, it doesn't matter who's catching the ball, and that's why I said no matter who he's playing, I'm not betting against him. He is this modern day era of Tom Brady. He's just getting started.
That's Brandon Snide. Bill McCoshen is in the studio as well, alongside myself, Joe Zepecki. What are your Super Bowl predictions? We've got the talk and text line open, 855-616-1620. Now, we can't wrap up our AFC Conference Championship conversation without talking about Taylor Swift. How was the coverage?
Was she there yesterday?
Did they overdo it again? I was very surprised she was down on the field post-game. I thought that might have been a security concern.
Yeah, I was actually a little shocked by that too.
Yeah.
And I'll say this about Taylor Swift. I don't really care for the music. I don't get the hype. I don't really care if she's there. I think it's awesome. I think it's good for the.
It's great for football.
I think it's good for the game, and I think people also got to realize. And I know they're public images. I know they're superstars. They're also human.
Yep.
There's a human element to this. Whether you think their relationship is fake or for TV or whatever, it's probably not, and it's not our job to judge that.
No.
Right.
Judge not, lest ye be judged.
They're humans. Let her enjoy the moment. She's celebrating in the box. She looks like me in my living room. I'm yelling the same stuff she's yelling.
She's probably you look like Jason Kelsey. That's who you look like.
Yeah, that was me. I did not
shirt off and everything.
I stopped breaking remotes and phones. I've taken a step in my life. Thank you.
Very good.
Did you see the postgame where Travis Kelsey asked his brother, "Did you keep your shirt on?" That was the first thing he asked him.
But that's, as entertaining as Kelsey and Swift are, the Kelsey brothers, sign me up for that content.
That podcast is really good, by the way.
It's incredible.
I believe it.
Yeah. Much more to come on WTMJ now. We're talking with Brandon Snide this hour. We'll get to the NFC Championship game, little Super Bowl preview, in addition to your predictions. Hey, let us know what your Super Bowl traditions are. We'll talk about how the three of us enjoy the Super Bowl when our team isn't playing in it. That's next on WTMJ Now.
Don't go anywhere. The Monday Morning Quarterback returns right after this on WTMJ. While you rest on the weekends, we work for you. Wisconsin's Weekend Morning News with Libby Collins. The latest in news.
TMJ4 meteorologist Brendan Johnson. What do you think is really going to happen?
It's going to be a busy week in the weather office for sure.
Entertainment.
Jeff Levering, pleasure to have you here today.
Season opener is right around the corner.
And more.
The weight of a lot of this snow now turning to ice. This is just a really dangerous situation for a lot of people.
Every Sunday morning starting at 8 on WTMJ.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Flimsy, feeble, flaccid. That's how you can describe most pre-approval letters these days. Heck, a lot of big banks issue pre-approval letters using soft credit pulls instead of real credit reports. Do you really want to compete in today's still low inventory market with a soft credit pull and a pre-approval that's silent on 2 of the 3 critical elements of a mortgage approval? A rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet not only verifies your credit with a real credit report, we also verify your income and down payment, and then issue a letter with a $2,000 guarantee to back it up. And now, AccuNet is issuing property-specific pre-approvals that often come with this sweet phrase: no appraisal required. That's right, AccuNet may be able to issue your pre-approval at or above the seller's asking price without needing an appraisal. Today's home market is still a metaphorical knife fight. Your bank is offering you, well, a pocket knife. AccuNet is Crocodile Dundee. Now that's a knife, mate. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
Skilled trade workers are the backbone of every community, and also the Army National Guard. Soldiers trained to keep the power flowing, engines running, and in every other trade needed to accomplish the mission. These soldiers are on the fast track to learning skills that can set them up for success at home with companies looking to hire the best. Their resumes are being built through their paid training and part-time service. Find out how you too can learn a trade profession by visiting NationalGuard.com. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano for Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. Injuries happen, but you don't have to play in pain or stay on the sidelines. Whether it's your kids dealing with a sports injury, college athletes, or the rest of us weekend warriors, the experts at Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin will quickly diagnose your problem, lay out a treatment plan that works for you, and get you back in the game. They fixed my knee. My mother-in-law is back on the dance floor with a new hip. These are the experts you can trust. Visit orthowisconsin.com.
You're listening to the Monday Morning Quarterback on Wisconsin's radio station, WTMJ.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now. I'm Bill McCoshen, sitting in for Steve Scafidi, along with my pal Joe Zepecki and our good friend Brandon Snyden. We're talking a little bit of football. We covered the AFC Championship in the first segment. Now let's talk about the NFC Championship. Did Dan Campbell blow that game for the Lions?
Of course he did. And I couldn't be happier this morning, Bill. Of course he did. You know, I had a tweet yesterday, and I took a lot of flack for it, I think amongst a lot of Packer fans, saying, how could you root for Detroit? If you're a Packer fan, I'm not telling you who to root for. I'm not fan gatekeeping it. I think that's what they call it. Like, root for whoever you want. I will not root for a divisional opponent. And when Dan Campbell decided, not once, Bill, Joe, but twice, to go for it on 4th and like +2, I think one of them was 4th and 3, and not take the 6 points, they lost by 3.
See, neither of them made sense. The first one would have put them up by 3 scores. Right? So why not take the points you're on the road?
And there's the inconsistencies with it, Bill, because before halftime, what did they do?
They took the 3.
They took the 3.
Took the 3.
Reluctantly. Right?
Yeah, he thought about it.
He thought about it, and then he put his arms up.
4th and, from the 2-yard line, take the points. You're on the road. It's a 3-score game at that point. Take it.
But the second one ties the game. Why do you walk away from that, right? I mean, sure, receivers drop balls, so they fumbled, that kind of thing. But those are things you have to factor in. The odds of getting those 3 points in both situations were like 80%, maybe 90%.
Yeah.
Take the points on the road.
Control what you can control. And at that moment, if you're a Lions fan, if you're waking up this morning, I'm not sure you ever recover from that loss, to be quite honest. I mean, I don't. Because I don't think there's a part of Packer fandom that hasn't recovered from 2014. That was a 6-point blow.
Yeah.
This is 17 last night on the road. Well, I guess the Packers were on the road too. But when it's
a lifetime of misery.
When you have the ability if you have the ability to make it a 3-score game on the road, you have to.
You have to.
Because that would have, in my opinion, that was the turning point of the game.
It was.
You allowed, it was a 14-point game still at that moment. But if you kick the field goal and you make it, now the Niners are getting the ball back, probably farther back in the 25, 20-yard line. And they're down. They're looking up at the scoreboard and they're seeing 6 minutes, and they're like, "Man, it's 3 scores."
Squeezing the ball, right? They're getting
3
a little
scores.
tense.
Yeah, and they don't move the ball up and down the field very fast.
No.
2 plays later, what happened after they went for that 4th down? The bomb from Purdy bounces off his face mask,
right?
And within 20 seconds, it's a 7-point game.
It made zero sense to me.
Yeah.
Where you and I disagree is, I was okay with the Lions winning. I mean, my lifetime, they have stunk so bad. It's sort of like wanting Charlie Brown to kick the ball, right?
Yeah.
I wanted Detroit to kick the ball, and they couldn't do it. Lucy pulled it away, and Detroit fans are going to suffer misery for God knows how long.
You guys have done it. You've turned me into a Dan Campbell defender. The culture of that team and what he has instilled all year long for 17 games in a regular season, for a playoff win, they have a go-for-it mentality that whether it's 2 yards or 4 yards, we're going to impose our will. We're going to play our football. It is not an indefensible decision. It's a choice, and it turns out that it cost them dearly, but I don't think this one stays with them. I don't think this is a hangover for years. I think Dan Campbell woke up this morning, got back in the gym, lifted 700 pounds or whatever that guy can bench, and is back in the lab.
You're in the PR business, though. What has to happen today is his guys have to defend him.
And I think they will.
His guys have to say.
I think part of how he built that culture was they're a go-for-it team. And throw out the analytics, throw out what everybody else is going to do. You don't take a team that's that hapless for that long and turn them around in a pretty short span of time. Right at the end of the 22 season, they got hot at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They come into Lambeau, they deny us a trip to the playoffs, and then they just keep rolling. Building
started
that
the season by
culture,
beating Kansas City.
Right,
in Kansas City
takes a lot. So I tip my backwards ball cap to Dan Campbell. He remained true to who he was in the football team that he coached all season long. So I hope no regrets. And I understand why people are giving him a hard time today.
I mean, I can see your point. I completely disagree with it because I think when you're in that moment and you're on the road and you have the ability as the road underdog to make it a not 1, not 2, but 3-score game, you have to take the points. Yeah. And I know that's who they are. I know that's what Detroit fans like to say. Well, this is who we are. This isn't October. This isn't November. You're not playing some random team on your schedule. You're playing to go to the Super Bowl.
Right.
Sometimes you got to adjust and go outside of your comfort zone and realize you lost by 3 and you left 6 points on the board.
Did you think for a while yesterday that you were just watching a rerun of the Packers 49ers game?
Oh, my God.
Literally, from start to finish.
It was eerie, right?
Yeah.
Packers went up
Didn't
big.
come alive until
Lions
the third.
went up big. At halftime, Shanahan goes in there, and the Niners have not been a team that have had to come from behind. They have been a really front-running team. I think it was after the Packer game, Brock Purdy saying, listen, as long as I've been here, we've never had a game like this. They've now got 2 in 2 weeks. That
builds confidence.
Unlocking a new level for that club. After the break, we're going to talk about what's going to happen in 2 weeks with the Super Bowl rematch, Super Bowl 58. Chiefs and 49ers running it back from 4 years ago. That sounds familiar. You're listening to WTMJ Now with Bill and Joe in for Steve and Brandon sticking with us. Come on back after the break.
This is the Monday Morning Quarterback on WTMJ. Miss any of the truth on WTMJ?
I'm representing the bull.
Maybe there's something wrong with me.
Catch the podcast wherever you get your podcasts and catch up on moments like this.
I think that's the first time you've ever not said something about my age in your life.
I have no comment regarding your wisdom.
And listen to The Truth on WTMJ every Sunday from 7 until 9 with Dr. Ken Harris and Denise Thomas. Right here on 620 WTMJ.
Team up with the Brewers for an epic company event this season. With the Brewers Group Outing, you can trade weekday meetings for a fun-filled day at American Family Field. Featuring options like tailgate spaces, all-inclusive areas, seating blocks, and much more. Plus, Brewers ticket representatives will make planning your event simple, as they'll be your personal concierge while booking your outing. Start planning your company outing today at brewers.com/groups.
Even when the weather outside is frightful, your energy bill could be much more delightful. Replacing drafty windows and doors can dramatically lower your energy costs. Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin's energy-efficient windows keep the cold outside where it belongs. You'll help kick the January blues when you choose to book by the 31st for 0% interest up to 36 months. You heard that right. No interest for up to 36 months if you book by January 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
If you're like me, you always like to add a little something new to the wardrobe. But when money's tight, it makes it harder. And that's why you shop at St. Vincent de Paul for a terrific selection of women's clothing at thrift store prices. Brand names, too, with a selection that's always up to date and looking great. You're going to find something cute at the right price, and you're going to love it. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it. St. Vincent de Paul.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why, through the end of February, the Auto Dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 13 years, Adam has provided more than 2.4 million meals to people in southeastern Wisconsin. And now, the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at adamm.com.
This is the Monday Morning Quarterback on WTMJ.
It is the Monday Morning Quarterback. Brandon Snide is with us being Bill McCoshen and Joe Zepecki, sitting in for Steve. I'm sure he's listening. Hope you're having a nice, lazy Monday, Mr. Scafidi.
He picked the wrong Monday.
Well, I think once the Packers weren't playing, I think if the Packers had played yesterday, you can rest assured that Scafidi would have been in the seat today, win or lose. But the Packers were not, and Steve is not here, so it falls to us to preview Super Bowl 58 for you. We got a read on the early line. I did not check it this morning. What are the
2.5?
I think it went down to 1 though
for Frisco. Down to 1.
San Francisco favorite, slightly.
Yes.
And, we get, a 13-day break here.
Yeah. So you get guys healthy. Both teams should be mostly healthy.
And didn't really seem like any. So you were mentioning the D tackle, Jones, for Kansas City was in and out.
In and out. Deebo Samuel for the Niners played, but he didn't look like he was hurt. He went out against Green Bay.
And didn't come back.
Never returned in that game. And then didn't practice up until like Saturday before the game. So it looked like he was mostly healthy Sunday. So I think both teams will definitely be ready to go.
All right, let's go around the room. Let's make the picks. early on. 13 days from now.
I think Brandon's right. You cannot bet against Patrick Mahomes. I'm taking the Chiefs and the points, whether it's 1 or 2.5, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. He's just too deadly to bet against. And to be honest, I won both my bets yesterday. I took the Chiefs.
He's on a heater.
I'm on a little bit of a heater, and I took Detroit and the points. And so that touchdown, Joe, at the end was critical for me.
Bad beats for people who had the Lions, the Niners. Snide, who you got?
No, he's modern day Tom Brady. He's Joe Montana, Bart Starr, whatever player you want to name him. That's who Patrick Mahomes is. He's the best quarterback. He's the best player,
wins.
And he just wins. He's 28 years old, and he's playing in his 4th Super Bowl.
As the kids say, he's him.
He's him.
Yeah.
I don't know what the spread I think is going to move. It's already moved in 12 hours, like twice. So I think the Chiefs are going to. I think they're going to end up favoring Kansas City.
Do you?
I do, just because from if you look at both teams, I think the Chiefs' defense this year is better. The Niners' offense has been better, but I think they're going to look at Purdy making his first Super Bowl start and Mahomes in his 4th. So I think that's going to be.
Zepecki, who you got?
I got the Niners.
Whoa.
They have top to bottom, the 53-man roster, they have more talent. Mahomes has basically been unbeatable in the AFC playoffs. This is his 4th Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
How many of the 3 Super Bowls he's been in has he won, Brandon?
2.
So if there's a time to go against Patrick Mahomes, and listen, I love the guy. I love watching him play. He is the quarterback of his generation. I'm not prepared to say he's the greatest quarterback of all time just yet, but I am going to go with the 49ers. I think 2 come-from-behind wins, and the way that they started those games, I mean, both rounds. At
that's going to bite them,
you
though.
thought
You don't think that's going to bite them?
The 49ers are dead in a ditch. There's no way. And to be able to come back not once but twice, I don't think they start slow again. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. Yeah. I think they're going to have so much confidence after 2 come-from-behind victories.
I'll say this to go against your point. The script is now on San Francisco on how to beat them. And let's just be frank. The Packers should have beat them. I know they didn't. The Lions should have beat them. I know they didn't.
For sure.
The script is out there on how to beat that defense. For a team that is littered with 9 All-Pros, they don't look very good on defense.
They didn't like world beaters.
And then there's ways to beat them. Let me ask you this, Joe. Let's say they start off slow. Let's say, because that's the trend they're playing, and it's 21-7. Do you think Patrick Mahomes has given up a 14-point lead? And I love Jordan Love. There's not a bigger caper out there for Jordan Love than me. He's not going to lose.
I think it's less likely that that Mahomes loses a 14-point lead than Jared Goff does. Okay, let's be clear there. But at the end of the day, I'm delusional, according to a texter from the 414. So, thank you. I appreciate that. We've got another one from the 414. The Kansas City Chiefs will crush the 49ers. I made my argument. I stand on it. And I know that these 2 gentlemen in studio with me this morning will also appreciate that my better half is a 49ers fan. And so I'm sort of obligated to cape for the 49ers.
It's a tough household.
Here. Okay.
So how did things go? Like
I don't know. That's sort of some healthy marital tension, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
She and I share the politics. We both work in Democratic politics, so we agree on a lot of things. There is one real big thing that has bit us a few times in the last few years because the Niners and the Packers keep playing. And I'll say it, listeners. I told her after the game, I'm not watching the Niners and the Packers play in the playoffs again with her.
Yeah,
I'm popping out.
I could do that
I'm
either.
going to the bar down the street next time it comes around. But now that it's over, happy wife, happy life. She is a legit Niners fan. She knows her stuff. She kicked my butt in fantasy football all year. So you know what? I'm going to go with the brains in the house and her lifelong fandom. And for all of the reasons I just said, I really do think it's a better roster top to bottom. You're right. Mahomes is a better quarterback than Purdy. But listen, Purdy also showed us some stuff. He doesn't do a lot yesterday. The 51 yards on the ground in the second half, he looked like his brother running through the Wisconsin defense.
Yeah, no, he definitely has. But I think when you look at it, too, from the 2 head coaches, like which one would you rather have 2 weeks to prepare?
Shanahan.
That's fair.
And you would rather have Shanahan?
I think he's one of the best.
Yeah, I disagree. I would rather have Andy Reid because Andy Reid's done it and has been successful at it. I agree. Like on the outside, Shanahan is really good. But he hasn't done it yet, and that's kind of where I'm at with Andy Reid. You're giving one of the best coaches, one of the best play callers, 2 weeks to prepare against a defense that now the script is out there on how to beat them.
Right.
And if the Chiefs can run the ball like Aaron Jones did and every Detroit Lions player that touched the ball yesterday in the backfield, and the run starts working for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, he's going to put up 50 points.
There's only one question left on WTMJ Now this morning as it relates to Super Bowl 58. Taylor Swift has a concert in Tokyo.
She's going to make it.
Conflict.
She's going to make it.
We might do some international Dateline travel math on the other side of the break. Brandon Snide is with us this hour. I'm Joe Zepecki. Bill McCoshen as well. In the next hour, we'll get to some politics. We're going to stick with sports for a little bit longer here. Thanks for riding with us on WTMJ Now.
Don't go anywhere. The Monday Morning Quarterback returns right after this on WTMJ.
EasyCater presents We've Got Your Back, Upsingers.
Backing you up.
So I order food on EasyCater for a meeting with a new client in Jackson.
Gotta feed clients in Jackson.
On my way to the airport, it hits me. The client is actually in Jacksonville.
Feed clients in Jacksonville. Oopsie.
So I call EasyCater. Nina picks up right away.
Nina fix it for you.
She called me right back and said you're all set.
Nina fixed the Jackson accident.
Jackson? EasyCater has your back with 24/7 support. Order at easycater.com and know
we got your back.
Your tax refund belongs to you, not an identity thief. Over $6 billion in tax refunds were flagged by the IRS for possible identity theft in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Our U.S.-based restoration specialists are experts dedicated to helping solve your identity theft issues, and all LifeLock plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. So we'll reimburse you up to the limits of your plan if you lose money due to identity theft. Don't let someone else enjoy your refund. Save up to 25% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com.
Dan, what do you think are the top 3 reasons people buy from us at Inspired Closets?
Katie, that's easy. Our 3D design software, 4 ironclad guarantees, and our lifetime warranty.
Plus, we're honest and transparent in our pricing. We don't over-design. And we're a local family-owned business.
Clients need to know that we are a different closet company. We are designed completely around them.
And we're a wife and husband team.
Visit us at inspiredclosetsmke.com.
Get the help you need Saturday morning with How To Radio. At 7, it's the WTMJ Fix-It Show with David Nason, featuring this week's guest, Capital Heating and Cooling. At 9, plan your dream vacation with the Fox World Travel Show. And at 10, get financial guidance during Money Talk. Contact Annex Wealth Management for an unbiased review of your investments at annexwealth.com. How To Radio, Saturday mornings on WTMJ. You're listening to the Monday Morning Quarterback on Wisconsin's radio station, WTMJ.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now. The WTMJ talk and text line, 855-616-1620, is a poppin'. Let's go to the text line. Nice save, Joe. Wives are always right. Okay. From the 920, Joe, is your wife really knowledgeable about football, or are you just really bad?
I love that.
Both can be true, I suppose.
Two things can be true at the same time.
You've said that many times.
And often are. I say it all the time. It's like a personal mantra. I am Joe Zepecki. This is WTMJ Now. Having some fun with Bill McCoshen and Brandon Snide this hour. I teased it before the break. The Taylor Swift of it all. It's undeniable. You got to talk about it. We think she will figure out the international travel schedule, do a little time travel because there's an international dateline involved. She'll travel for like 20 hours, but it'll really only take her 3 on the clock.
Tokyo.
And she will make it to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, she'll probably get right on the plane right after the show. Boom. I think she can afford it.
Is this going to be, because of her likely presumed attendance, the record for most watched Super Bowl of all time?
I don't think there's any question about it. It will absolutely be the most watched Super Bowl of all time. And this actually splits my family. My wife is so done with Taylor Swift.
And you're all in?
I'm not all in, but I get it. And I think she's good for football. I think she's bringing different eyeballs to the game. The NFL gets it, or they wouldn't keep focusing on her. It's been a massive win for them. So, listen, whatever's going on between her and Kelsey looked natural and authentic to me yesterday. And I think she'll be there, and I think the audience will be massive.
Huge.
Listen, when the Chiefs played the Bills, divisional round game.
40 million.
50. 50.4. I'm looking at it right now. 50.4 million viewers for a divisional. Not that, that's playoffs. It's a good game. Yeah, Super Bowl is going to be the most watched event, maybe ever.
And here's how it's growing the game. Bill and I have a friend in Madison, 9-year-old daughter, had a sleepover the night of that Bills Chiefs game. And so, the girls are doing their thing, and they go, oh, wait, can we watch football? And our friend is going, for what? Oh, right.
Yeah. See, but I think that's a good thing.
Fantastic.
I do too.
Because once you get them in and you're watching it, and then they're starting asking, hey, what does 1st and 10 mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean when he catches, and then they're, okay, well, this is kind of cool. Wait a minute, I like that.
Why won't they throw the ball to Kelsey? Yeah.
My dad's right. This Patrick Mahomes is the best ever behind Jordan Love. So, yeah, I want to watch, So I think it's good. I think it brings in young eyes and it brings in an audience that doesn't necessarily tune into football every Sunday, and I think it's going to help.
I do too.
Enhance the game.
There was a point yesterday where she said, please stop to the camera.
Yeah.
There is a clip of that.
She did. Yeah. And it was on her for awkward. I felt awkward watching. I'm like, okay, it's 10 seconds. You can pan off of her. Let her be. I know it's Taylor Swift, but just
was this after a Kelsey
before
catch?
the game started?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, please stop. But I think the thing that was surprising to me is they let her on the field. I mean, she is a massive security issue all by herself, right? And you would think a lot of the guys on the other team would want to get a picture with her and that kind of thing.
I was shocked to see that, Bill.
Yeah.
I really was. And I don't think she's ever done that. When she was at Lambeau, she came into the tunnel by the loading dock, and she went right to the elevators.
Right.
And said good. Two of the other girls she was with, Patrick Mahomes'
Now she's
wife,
part of the crowd.
Yeah.
It's very different.
They went to the field, and she went straight upstairs. So I was shocked to see her, because the first thing I thought of, because I work at Lambeau Field for broadcast games, I'm like, oof, those guys they got to be stressful right now, because that's a lot of security. Because not only do you have field security, you have her security.
Right.
Yep.
And that's a lot of people down there.
It sure is.
And there was a cool moment. I don't know if you saw it, the picture between her and Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Where he's pointing at her, and Andy Reid's wife's got this look like, oh my God, that's Taylor Swift.
I told you. That's what I'm talking about.
Is this like the new Spider-Man pointing meme?
Yeah.
Andy Reid, his wife, and Taylor Swift.
There she is.
She's pointing at him. He's pointing at her, and his wife is like, oh my God, that's Taylor Swift. So I don't mind it at all. I really don't. People that are upset about it, then just don't pay attention to it.
She's an undrafted rookie going to the Super Bowl.
There you go.
Does it really affect your life, though? I don't understand what we get so.
If
there
you're
are
mad about this,
million other things to worry about in this world, and I know you guys
people
will
on
get
my
to
side
it.
are melting down about this.
Who
that she's some psyop.
cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's fun. And you know what? It's going to bring more people to the broadcast than Usher is our halftime performance.
Yeah, what are we stuck in 2004?
Because let's be and here's the thing: we're football fans. A lot of our listeners are football fans. There are also folks who it's the Super Bowl, and so you go to a party, you make some snacks. It's the one football game you really tune into, and you're watching for the commercials, or you're watching because Rihanna is the halftime show. And let's be honest, Usher is not Rihanna.
No.
He's going to have some special guests to bring some heat.
It's not Paul McCartney.
Did you know who turned down the Super Bowl this year?
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Get out of here.
They asked her.
Before they were dating.
Before they were dating.
Did they back up a Brinks truck?
Well, I think it's because of her concert, probably. She was probably like, no. But they did approach her. I believe it was Pepsi. Don't quote me on the sponsor.
Because we've had Beyonce.
Yep.
We've had Rihanna.
Well, what was it?
2
years ago was Dr. Dre, Eminem, Snoop Dogg. Was that last year?
That was a weird one. I'm just going to say it.
Was that last year? I think that might have been last year.
It was last year.
Yeah.
I had the Black Eyed Peas when I went to Dallas.
The Packers.
Packers. That was just bad.
Yeah.
The halftime show is not what it used to be.
What was the pop star? She's on American Idol now. She was one at one point.
Kelly Clarkson?
No, not Kenny. She won American Idol. The girl that's hosting it now. What's her name? Kelly. Not Kelly.
Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood?
Not Carrie Underwood. Gosh, can't remember.
Help us out, listeners. Who's the American Idol?
American Idol host. She's in the middle. It's the female. What is her name? I can see her face. I can't. She sings the fireworks song.
Katy Perry.
That's it.
Katy Perry.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
The fireworks song.
Remember, she was in the Super Bowl. She was riding on the elephant, the mechanical elephant.
Katy Perry.
Lady Gaga came down from the ceiling. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Oh, we've got a helpful listener. Pepsi doesn't sponsor the halftime show anymore. It's Apple. Part of their world domination tour.
Part of the PSYOP, too.
I'll take their word for it. We're going to talk about the PSYOP later. Whether or not Taylor Swift is an op or maybe a Pentagon asset is what I saw.
Yeah.
The conspiracy theory folks are on a absolute heater. We want to know, what are you doing for the Super Bowl, right? If the Packers had been in it, everybody's plans get scrambled. I'm sure lots and lots of Americans, more than have ever watched the Super Bowl before, will be tuning in. You're going to host? You're going to go somewhere? What's your go-to appetizers and snacky do's? We want to hear it on the TMJ Talk and Text line, 855-616-1620. But before we let Brandon out of here, we got to talk about the new-look Milwaukee Bucks. Coach Doc making his debut as the Bucks head west. Come on back after the break.
This is the Monday Morning Quarterback on WTMJ.
Uline is here for the hard workers, for the ones rolling up their sleeves, working round the clock, and getting the job done. You're dedicated to doing what it takes to keep a business growing. Uline is dedicated to helping you make that happen. Working 7 days a week, staying fully stocked and ready to ship any of our 41,000 items the same day. Uline, your shipping and industrial supply specialists. Visit uline.com.
For over a century, local radio has evolved with the needs of the community. From politics to pop culture, we keep you informed, bringing you the most relevant news, online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Whether you're an active or passively active home shopper, our agents want you to be completely up to date with what's out there and what's brand new to the market. With our instant emailed MLS updates, you'll never miss out on what could be the home of your dreams. All you have to do is call and tell us where to search, give us a price range, and soon you'll be totally in tune with your desired real estate market. Remember, MLS searches show you everything. Some of the other real estate sites don't. So call Benefit Realty today, where you'll pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com. 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission. You can't find a lower rate of commission, and you won't be able to find better knowledge, service, and real estate expertise than you'll find with our agents at Benefit Realty. Because I know that's what you expect. Now, I'm not sure you'll be able to find the highest caliber of agents everywhere, but I can promise that's what you'll get here. So choose Benefit Realty to exceed your expectations, and you'll pay less for more. This is Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where you pay less for full service. Benefit-realty.com.
Annex Wealth Management. Investment, retirement, tax, and estate planning from a fee-only fiduciary. Forget commission sales pitches and financial products you don't need. Know the difference. Annex provides elite, comprehensive financial planning customized to who you are and what you need. AnnexWealth.com.
America is kept safe because the Army National Guard responds, protects, and supports our nation when it needs them most. The Army National Guard responds to disasters such as wildfires and floods. They protect us with missile defense, cybersecurity, and civilian support teams for chemical, biological, and radiological hazards. Be there for your community and your country. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more about part-time service. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
The NBA app is everyone's app. Every fan of every team.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone who follows LeBron, Tatum, and Embiid in the app. Every warrior who's ready to go to battle over three-point percentages. Every streetwear king who's here for the tunnel fits. Every young buck, nugget, and grizzly who wants to take a peek behind the scenes of the league. And everyone else on this floating basketball we call Earth. Download the NBA app today. Available in the Google Play, Apple app, and Android stores.
WTMJ Now.
I'm Bill McCoshen, sitting alongside Joe Zepecki and our friend Brandon Snide. We're sitting in for Steve Scafidi today. We're talking a little sports for the first hour. Next hour will be the political power hour. But before we get to that, we got two more things to cover with our friend Brandon. The Milwaukee Bucks made a coaching change. Let's go to that first before we figure out Super Bowl traditions. This one sort of surprised me. They had a 30-13 record at the time that they replaced the coach. It's a little unusual as a owner of a sports franchise. What that said to me is the leadership group went to the management and said, it's not working out. What's your take?
Yeah, I think when you look at the expectations in Milwaukee, Bill, I think any coach, and Doc Rivers kind of talked about it on Saturday at his introductory press conference, it's an unfair job because the expectations are you need to come in here and winning by 10 isn't acceptable. You know, you won a championship in 2021. You have, in my opinion, the best player in basketball.
Yeah.
Damian Lillard's a top 10 player in basketball. Your expectations are to win by 20 and to win every game. And if you don't, you're going to have an angry fan base. So it's an unfair job. And I think when Adrian Griffin got hired, two things about the Adrian Griffin thing. Number one, I don't think he should have been hired in the first place to be his first head coaching job.
I didn't either.
To have a team, you walk into a team where you're like, it's championship or it's a losing season.
Right.
You know, like that's not fair to Griff, in my opinion. So I felt like putting him in his first coaching job, head coaching job, with those expectations was not fair. And number two, I don't think the front office was ever sold on him. I think they bought into what Giannis had to say about him. And I know Giannis, which was positive. And I think Giannis, as innocent as he is, you know, as down to earth as he is, he doesn't always realize, you know, the weight of his words sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it was just a bad hire to begin. I actually wrote about it in Extra Points when it happened. I didn't agree with it. I thought it should have been a veteran head coach. Doc Rivers, you know, as much as people want to go out there and be like, well, he hasn't won in the play. He's won an NBA championship. Like, a lot of coaches can't say that.
The other thing we got to be like honest about is Griffin got dealt an even more challenging hand.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Than the sky high expectations, because he was hired to coach a team with sky high expectations and an established pecking order. This is Giannis's team. It is his show. Middleton, Brooke, Holiday, they know their role. They are there to support Giannis. And to then, 4 days before training camp?
Yeah.
Where you make a blockbuster trade and bring in Damian Lillard, a guy who has been an alpha for a long time. There's no question he's one of the best scorers in the league. These guys have egos. And there was always going to be an adjustment period to figure out how to get Giannis and Dame to work together. And I think that has been one of the extra challenges piled on top that people who are watching are going, why aren't Dame and Giannis in a high pick and roll more often? What are they doing? Clearly, that challenge of getting those two guys on the same page was part of this that made a very difficult job almost impossible, and is why you probably need somebody who's coached mega superstars like Doc Rivers has to try and deal with that.
Well, and I think the firing, or I wouldn't even say the firing, when Terry Stotts quit. Do you guys remember that?
That never made sense.
A week before the season, reportedly Griffin and Stotts didn't see eye to eye. The front office hired Stotts to kind of overlook Griffin, which it felt like from the start that was a bad idea. They got into an argument at practice. 2 days later, he quits. And so, the offense, what they were going to run with Stotts went out the window.
Right.
You know, and defensively, you know, when Griff got hired in, I believe it was June, Drew Holiday was part of the interview process with Griffin. They interviewed. It was Holiday, Brooke, Giannis, and Chris. So when Griff got hired, he's probably thinking, okay, I'm going to utilize Drew here. I'm going to utilize Drew there. That all goes out the window 4 days before training camp. It was just an unfair situation. But I will say this. Credit to the organization for making the change. Because not a lot of organizations, not a lot of ownership or general managers would be like, okay, yes, we're 30-13. Yes, we're the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, but there's clearly a disconnect. If you watch them on the court, something was off. The energy was down, the offense was clunky, the rotations were weird. Let's not drag this out and waste the season. Let's go out and get the guy that we were going to get initially in Doc Rivers. And it's going to be a rough transition period. They're going on a 5-game road trip. They're starting out against the defending champs. It's going to be brutal. But let's start there, and let's just kind of nip it in the bud, and let's move forward with who we were initially going to hire. So kudos to the ownership and the front office.
Here. Before we let Brandon get out of here, what do you do for the Super Bowl? What's the plan?
I'm going to Florida. I'll be in Florida. I graduate next week from college. So
congratulations,
wife,
congrats.
Thank you.
Presumptively, don't blow it with your last exam.
Yeah, I got one more. Yeah, I got one more thing to do. But so we'll be down in Florida. We're going to be on the beach there in Daytona Beach. So I'm going to be watching it, hopefully from Seaside.
Okay, if you were at home,
no kids.
That's even better.
Even better.
Brandon Snide has already won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing, though,
warm temperature with sun.
I need you guys to bring this up in the next hour because this is the more important thing for politics. We need a federal holiday the day after the Super Bowl.
I'm for it.
Why is that not a day off?
We'll come up. We'll get a lobbying campaign ready to go.
From the left and right.
That's right.
Because it ends way too late.
It all starts right here.
It ends way too late. I mean, it doesn't start till 5 p.m. our time. It's an hour and a half halftime show. You know what I mean? Like the game,
everybody's been at it since noon.
Everybody's been at it since noon. And then you're telling people they got to work the next day. I think it needs to be a federal holiday.
Brandon Snide weighing into politics, folks. That's the Monday Morning Quarterback. Bill and Joe will be back next hour. We'll get into our politics and the political power hour. I have a strong suspicion that immigration is going to chew up a lot of this conversation.
Yeah.
So come on back. You're listening to WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here for one of the very special places in our community. It's Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living. They offer early memory loss classes. They take care of people in your family who have dementia symptoms or other related cognitive declines. I'll tell you what, I've been in their facilities. They're special. They're incredible. I have an aunt who's in a facility. I know what it means to make sure your family's in the right place. That's Azura. It's compassion and empathy. Wisconsin-based and family-owned. It's Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living, AzuraLiving.com.
Brewers win! Get more from your live baseball experience with the 2024 Brewers Ticket Plan. On sale now. Don't miss more exclusive Brewers season seat holder rewards, like your very own batting practice session, more can't-miss action, and more access to the game you love. It's your ticket to being a VIP Brewers fan this season. Plus, you'll enjoy savings on ticket prices you can't get anywhere else. Learn more at brewers.com/ticket plans.
Parents and grandparents, have your kids' birthday party at the amazing Mineshaft Restaurant in Hartford or Oshkosh. The party rooms are free, and they'll love the massive game room and pizza with no cooking or cleanup. Book your birthday party at MineshaftRestaurant.com.
Stop in at Fleet Farm for one of the biggest selections of Milwaukee tools around. Milwaukee's raised the bar on heavy-duty performance, and we've got over 1,100 Milwaukee tools and accessories to help you crush that to-do list. Like the M18 cordless 2-tool combo kit. 400 pounds of torque, packed into just 4 pounds of compact drill driver, plus 2 batteries. Shop all the top brands we carry to help you power through everyday life at Fleet Farm.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer. Our policy is to provide equal opportunity employment, development, and advancement to all current and potential teammates. If you are an organization that maintains a job bank, provides employment information, or gives job referrals, you may request to be placed on the station's mailing list for future career opportunities. To learn more about careers at Good Karma Brands, please email careers@goodkarmabrands.com.
How much does it cost to talk to Gruber Law Offices after a serious crash? It's free. Yes, free. As in, it won't cost you anything to speak with us. Not sure if you have a case? Call our team at Gruber Law Offices today. Your first call and your first consultation are always free. And you'll never pay us a fee until we win your case. If you've been seriously injured, call Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why, through the end of February, the auto dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 13 years, Adam has provided more than 2.4 million meals to people in southeastern Wisconsin. And now, the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at adamm.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Time for the Bucks to take these so-called NBA champions down a peg.
He uncorks a 3, and he hits it at the horn. Dame time at the end of the third quarter.
The Bucks are in Denver with coverage of the game starting tonight at 7:30 on your home of the Bucks. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
Good morning, 10 o'clock. We have cloudy skies, 32 degrees, patchy fog, and an evening shower possible with a high today of 42. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Fire at a West Dallas apartment leaves a teenager with severe burns. 17-year-old boy reportedly fell asleep with a candle burning in the apartment at 71st and Orchard. Teen woke up when the back of his shirt caught fire. He suffered second-degree burns to half of his back and his thumb. Officials say it doesn't appear that there were working smoke detectors in the house at the time of the fire. A judge will consider consider whether to release one of the women charged in the Slender Man case from 2014 at a hearing today.
An attorney for Morgan Geyser has requested her release from Winnebago Mental Health Institute. She and Anissa Wire stabbed Peyton Leitner in Davids Park after a sleepover in 2014, allegedly to please the fictional character Slenderman. Geyser was found not guilty by reason of mental disease and was initially sentenced in 2018 to a maximum of 40 years of state mental health supervision. Meanwhile, Wire was granted her conditional release in 2021. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
Alex Murdaugh is back in court this week as his attorneys argue for a new trial. Murdaugh was convicted of killing his wife and son, but his legal team is arguing the trial was biased because the court clerk, Becky Hill, swayed the jury. More from ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
The disgraced lawyer was found guilty in March of killing his wife Maggie and son Paul at their home in South Carolina. His defense team appealing that verdict in September, accusing Hill of pushing the jury to make a quick decision, all to secure herself a book deal and media appearances that would not happen in the event of a mistrial. Hill has denied Murdaugh's claims, but later admitted to plagiarizing part of her book about the trial, which has since been pulled for purchase.
Growing political pressure on President Biden to confront Iran after Iranian-backed militants targeted a remote U.S. military outpost in Jordan near the border with Syria, killing 3 American troops and injuring 34 others.
Asked what a proportionate response would be to the attack by Iranian-backed militants at a base in Jordan that killed 3 American troops and injured at least 34. The White House says President Biden is working his way through options. National Security spokesman John Kirby telling ABC's Good Morning America the president's national security team laid out options and he's considering retaliation.
We'll do that in a time and a manner of our choosing to see what we can do to help bring these attacks to an end and make sure that we can protect our troops and facilities.
Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
House Republicans pushing forward in their efforts to impeach U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. The House Homeland Security Committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow to determine if it will move impeachment to a vote on the House floor. A Milwaukee Public Schools mom calling out the bus system after months of frustration. Deborah Watson says her 7-year-old son, Destin, who attends Hopkins Lloyd Elementary School, has missed 10 days of classes because he wasn't picked up by the bus, even though he came to the bus stop. Watson tells TMJ4 News MPS hasn't communicated well with her.
My child, twice a week, don't get on the bus because they don't come, they don't communicate, and when I do reach out to them, they're answering the phone with an attitude and they're hanging up on me.
School district said the bus only missed a route due to weather this month, but Watson claims this goes beyond just January. Today's the first day the IRS will start accepting tax returns from 2023. Most refunds will be issued 21 days after filing, but the IRS warns against relying on a refund to pay a bill or other charge. Those needing assistance help filing their taxes can access the IRS Taxpayers Assistance Center, 211 West Wisconsin in downtown Milwaukee. The deadline to file a federal tax return, pay any tax owed, or request an extension to file is Monday, April 15th. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ NX Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is down 25 points. The Nasdaq is up 13. The S&P 500 is down a point. It's a great time for your retirement and investment strategy review from a fee-only fiduciary. Go to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button now. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:04.
This report sponsored by the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network.
A cancer diagnosis shouldn't mean we can't make plans. It shouldn't mean living without joy or optimism. Cancer shouldn't be calling the shots. At the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Cancer Network, we're pushing to put cancer in its place by pulling together teams of leading specialists and researchers who work tirelessly for breakthroughs, who are developing innovative ways to treat every cancer, to treat your cancer. And by providing the largest cancer clinical trials treatment program in Wisconsin, so there are more treatment options and more reasons to be hopeful. So let's keep innovating. Let's keep discovering. Let's push to make every cancer diagnosis a story of survivorship and bring back the lightness of life that cancer takes away. To learn more about breakthrough cancer care, visit freighter.com/cancer.
So Jason, we're all about same-day repair.
7 days a week.
But that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
Being on call for capital customers.
Nights, weekends, and holidays.
We should make a bigger deal about it.
What, like same-day repair?
10,080 minutes a week.
That is not catchy, Seth. No? How about same-day repair? 168 hours a week. That may be worse. Really? 7 days a week is crystal clear. And still a big deal. The biggest. Nobody does it. That's why I started Capital. Somebody needed to care. Capital Cares is not a slogan. We prove it every day. Seth, we got a furnace down. Let's go. Same-day repair. 604,800 seconds a week. This is why you don't write our ads.
Capital repairs your furnace same day, 7 days a week. Call us today or go online at callcapitalcares.com.
After dominating the Pelicans on Saturday night, the Bucks are back out in the Mile High City tonight to take on the Nuggets. 32-14 Bucks will welcome in Doc Rivers to make his debut as head coach beginning tonight.
We all know what he brings. You know, we heard his voice, him coaching other teams. You know, he's had success, played in this league. He went to school in this city, been around a long time as a coach. You know, he's coached a lot of great players. So I think you would have a hard time thinking of something that he hasn't experienced.
Milwaukee will look to begin their 5-game West Coast road trip tonight with an 8 p.m. tip time in Denver. Super Bowl 58 is all set. The 49ers knocking off the Detroit Lions Sunday 34-31. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes heading back to the Super Bowl after the Chiefs knocked off the Ravens 17-10. It'll be a rematch from 4 years ago. Niners-Chiefs, February 11th from Las Vegas. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Take a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. There was an earlier crash, I-43-94 south at the ramp from Howard Avenue. That crash was blocking the left 2 lanes. That has since been cleared. Just look for a little bit of minor slowing in that construction zone. I-43 south, Brown Deer Road to downtown. That's about a 14-minute drive this morning. Your WTMJ 5-day forecast, patchy fog, mostly cloudy, maybe an evening shower today after a high of 42, and maybe a shower, rain and snow mix tonight with a low 35. A drizzle mix early tomorrow, cloudy skies with a high 40, partly cloudy 44 Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, partly cloudy with a high of 38. Madison at 28, Green Bay 30, Milwaukee 33 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, citing a limited WTMJ News Time, 10:08.
Pour that coffee. And let's discuss what's going on in Milwaukee, Madison, Washington, and beyond. It's the Political Power Hour on WTMJ Now. Here's Joe Zepecki and Bill McCoshen.
Should we talk about the government?
Welcome to a very special Monday edition, or at least 2/3 edition,
right,
of the Political Power Hour. I'm Joe Zepecki.
We're missing our quarterback.
We're missing our usual quarterback. So this makes this a very, very special hour of the Political Power Hour. And I think people are going to want to tune in for this and stay locked in, because we're going to tackle, I think probably for most of the hour, one of the most controversial topics in American politics today, and that's immigration. Now, Bill and I get a lot of feedback from Steve and from the listeners, the listeners, about what we're able to do, which is have respectful, meaningful, informative conversations. And that's what we're going to try to do this hour on the topic of immigration. So to set this up, we've got 3 sort of big things going on around immigration this week in Washington, last week in Washington, this week. So let's set the table. The first and the newest is that Republicans are introducing this week articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas related to the border. The second is that negotiations between Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans on an immigration bill continue. That is part of what has to happen. There has to be something on immigration for Ukraine funding to happen. We're going to focus on the immigration side of that. And then third, there's an ongoing conflict, dispute, disagreement between the state of Texas and the federal government over the feds having access to the Texas portion of the border. In recent weeks or months, Texas authorities rolled out some razor wire. The feds have asked for access to that razor wire. There was an incident where federal border agents were trying to get access to an emergency situation just on the other side of the razor wire. The fight went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court granted not an outright rejection of the Texas policy, but sort of a limited win for the feds, that the feds should get access to that razor wire. So that's a lot. Immigration is a fraught topic, and there's always a lot going on. But among those three sort of big ticket things this week, where should we start, Bill?
Let's start with Mayorkas. So this is probably where Republicans hurt themselves the most last fall with changing out Kevin McCarthy. They wasted 6 weeks on trying to get a new speaker in place and went through all kinds of gymnastics to get there. 8 Republicans sided with all of the Democrats in the House of Representatives to knock McCarthy out. The fall was the time to impeach Mayorkas, not now. I think it looks more political in an election year. I am for this. I think he's derelict in his job. He should have been taken out, but it should have been done in the fall. I can't understand how the folks in D.C. on the GOP side didn't see this coming, right? They had all of last spring, all of last summer to prepare to take this guy out. He multiple times he came to the Hill, and if he didn't flat out lie, he was deceitful. And the border is as open as it's ever been. We have no border at this point in time. Taking him out in the fall was the right thing to do. Now I think it gets lost as a political move.
So part of what makes it awkward and the timing look more political is at the same time as House Republicans are drafting these articles, you have Secretary Mayorkas in the negotiations with Senate Republicans and Senate Democrats trying to fashion a border bill that nobody has seen. Okay, no one other than the negotiators in that room have seen it, but the belief is, the conventional wisdom is that this will be a very tough or far tougher than we've seen border bill. This is not like a comprehensive immigration reform bill. It is not a thing that's going to include like pathway to citizenship for dreamers. Like this is really a border security bill is what we think based on what we're reading. And so I guess my question to you is, like, I feel pretty strongly that there's just no way that even if the House impeaches Mayorkas, that enough Senate Republicans are going to turn around and vote to convict, right? We all got our crash course in impeachments during the Trump presidency. You got to get 2/3 of the Senate. That means you need 17 Democrats and every single Republican. Can a Mayorkas impeachment even get every Senate Republican at this point to vote to convict while they're negotiating with him?
Well, the question is, can Mike Johnson, the Speaker, get all the Republicans? He'll get no Democrats. It has to get out of the House to get to the trial in the Senate. I think he can probably hold his conference on this, but it remains to be seen. But I'm going to go back to PR. You're a pro in the PR business. This is one where James Langford, GOP senator from Oklahoma, has lost this from the jump. Whatever the details of this bill are, even if they're spectacular from a historical standpoint as it relates to the border, he's blown this because it's been defined by others as being, 1.8 million gotaways are going to continue going forward, that this doesn't actually seal the border, that it doesn't do the things that people hope it would do, and that the president's just using this as an opportunity to get himself out of political hot water. So even if Langford negotiated the greatest deal possible, and by the way, I don't think there's any GOP senator that would negotiate a great deal. I have very little, hope that those guys could negotiate a good deal. I think it is largely the uniparty in D.C., and those guys just want to go along to get along, right? So if Langford did something really great here, he's already lost the PR battle to position this thing to have a chance to get it done. Now, there's differences of opinion on this. There are U.S. senators who are saying, hell no, I'm not doing this. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has said, we're not doing this in the House. But there are other U.S. senators who say, you know what, we ought to take a look at this. So I think it's critical to see the details. And now we have a difference between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, one of many, right? She's on Meet the Press yesterday, and I thought she had a spectacular performance. I'm not endorsing Nikki Haley. I'm going to vote for the ticket. I want to be very clear about that. Whoever our nominee is, I'm going to vote for him. I think they're massively better than Joe Biden.
I'm still going to get you off of Donald Trump, but we got a ways to go there. So let's pause it there because we got to get to a break. But yes, we should talk about the Langford of it, the politics of it, the PR of it. There's so much to chop up here, including your thoughts. Listeners, 855-616-1620. Come on back. This is WTMJ Now with a special edition of the Political Power Hour.
It's WTMJ Now.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
Hi there, I was calling to report a traffic accident for your traffic reporter, Debbie Lazica.
Call me, Debbie Lazica, at the hallmazda.com traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
Hi, Debbie. It's Michael. Eastbound 894, and there's the fender bender, and these guys are blocking the right lane.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it? Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Chris and Tim closed their first loan with AccuNet $116,000 ago in terms of the median sales price in southeastern Wisconsin. We helped their daughter buy a home earlier this year, and now we're helping them buy their retirement condo. We're told there were 3 offers, 2 cash offers, and Chris and Tim's offer backed up by an AccuNet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. All 3 offers were probably over the asking price, but we're surmising Chris and Tim's offer was the highest because when the sellers asked the listing broker if they could count on the offer with the pre-approval letter, the answer was simply, AccuNet really does their homework. It's not easy to beat a cash offer over the asking price, but that's exactly what Tim and Chris did with some help from their trusted family mortgage lender. If you don't think the lender's name on your pre-approval letter matters, think again. It's still a seller's market in the Badger State, so click on the blue button at AccuNet.com today to get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
One day, a 3.5 to 3.9% real estate commission structure will be commonplace. But for now, it's not the case. So you can pay 6% for what we can do for about half that, or you can pay less for full service. For some, it's hard to believe, but for our customers, they know it to be true. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, and our agents understand the meaning of great customer service. And you'll see they're the cream of the crop. So don't pay more than you have to. Pay less for full service with Benefit Realty. Benefit-realty.com. The reviews are in, and folks seem to like how we do business. And what's more, they can't get over the level of service and real estate expertise they get for far less than what they'd pay an agent from a big-name company. At 3.5 to 3.9%, you'll save up to nearly 50% in commission by choosing a Benefit Realty full-service agent. Everything they do, we do, for up to 50% less. There's no catch. I'm Angela Calais with Benefit Realty, where you pay less for full service. See our success stories at benefit-realty.com.
WTMJ Now.
Welcome back to a special edition of the Political Power Hour. I'm Joe Zepecki.
Well done, Charlie, on the song choice. Well done. Let me in.
I'm a Democrat. I work in Democratic politics. Bill McCoshen is a Republican. His long career.
Oh,
many years more than my career in Republican politics.
Yeah, it's a gray hair.
And we are tackling immigration. I don't know if we can't solve it. I don't know if anybody can. We've got a lot to get to.
We do.
You mentioned before the break Senator Lankford of Oklahoma. So he is one of the Republican senators who is negotiating with Senate Democrats and the Secretary of Homeland Security. Lankford is from Oklahoma. And over the weekend, I shared this with you guys. I saw this because it made my head spin. The Oklahoma Republican Party passed a resolution that they are ceasing all support for Senator Lankford until he walks away from the negotiating table. To reiterate what we talked about before the break, nobody outside of that room knows what's in the bill at this point. And so what jumps out to me is like,
and yet there he is.
He's
carcass in the middle of the road.
Right. And he's still trying to negotiate. Isn't that his job? Isn't the job of a legislator in the United States Senate to see what is available, to see what kind of progress can be made on an issue that is challenging the country like immigration? And we talk sometimes about like the reward systems in politics, the reward structures. If a Republican senator sits down and tries to negotiate a border security bill in good faith, and back home his politics are wrecked just by having the conversation, how are we ever going to get anything done on this?
We have to move beyond this. We have to be able to solve big problems. And again, we don't know the details of this bill. I think we'll know in the next 48 hours. And
sometime this week is kind of what we're hearing.
Then we'll have a better idea of, did he get a good deal or a bad deal? But from a political standpoint, Joe, here's my point. I think the White House needs this most. You sort of have to look at the whole playing field of who benefits the most from a deal. The White House does, because this is the number one issue against Joe Biden right now, other than his age, is the border. So they benefit the most. So what my advice to Langford or the other negotiators would be, ask for that one hard thing. You can probably get it. I'm a kind of guy, I learned this from Tommy Thompson. If you can move the ball down the field, there are reasons to do that and not delay, right? And I think that was essentially Nikki Haley's argument yesterday on Meet the Press is, let's see what the details are, but if there's enough good in there, maybe we can move this forward and then add to it later under a Republican White House. So the White House needs this to pass, which is why the Trump team wants it to fail. And I don't know that that's in America's interest. I think we do need to seal that border. I think what's going on with Texas, which we'll get to in the next segment, is proof positive that this could lead to a civil war if it's not handled correctly. And I don't say that in a way to try and rile up the base, but I think that's where we're at in America.
And so you alluded to it, right? So maybe if you're a Republican, the best outcome is we get something now and then we deal with the rest of it later. And that leads to one of the challenges I'm having here, which is Republican rhetoric on this issue is this is an existential crisis. It is an absolute, impossible solve right now. We have to deal with this on the one hand. And then on the other hand, there are forces like Donald Trump and apparently Speaker Mike Johnson who are saying, we're not going to deal with this. Nothing is good enough. We're going to wait until Donald Trump is president again. If it's such an existential crisis, can it wait a year to be solved? I think Republicans have misplayed this a little bit, and it is creating a space where not only is it good politics for Joe Biden to get something done, if nothing gets done, I think Joe Biden and Democrats are going to be able to point the finger back at Republicans and say, hey, not only did you not secure the border when you had Trump in office last time and full Republican control, we also came to the table and were able to give you the strongest border security bill in American history, and you guys chose to play politics. That's a warning sign if you're a Republican strategist, because you're right, the politics are bad on this for Democrats right now.
For sure.
And if this is the hinge where either we solve the problem and it's better for Biden, or it just gets better for Biden straight on the politics, that's a good day for Joe Biden. And listen, to me, we can be cynical and say this is all politics, or we can say this is how politics is supposed to work, right? If we say, well, Joe Biden's got a political problem, so now he wants to deal. That's what's supposed to happen in a representative democracy is the people force you to the table and force you to act, right?
So if I'm advising Team Trump, what I do within 48 hours of the Langford negotiated deal coming public, I go to Eagle Pass, Texas, and I announce what my immigration/border plan is, and I compare it to what the deal on the table is. And frankly, from an optics standpoint, if I'm him, I say a couple good things about what's in that package, but say mine's better, and here's why. If he wants to keep on the offense on this issue, you got to do more than tweet and post on Truth Social. You got to have a plan. What's the plan? All right. So let's see what Langford came up with. Go to Eagle Pass, Texas, and announce it this week. And then we can have a real conversation about this. I think there might be an opportunity to do something maybe minimal, maybe modest, maybe a little bit better than that now, and then do even more next time. And I think it's in Trump's interest to show that he can actually get things done if the Congress is Democratic next year, or if it's split like it is right now, or if it's all Republican. Right? The chances of it being all Republican should be good based on Biden's numbers, but they're not good right now. So he's got to be able to operate in all environments. And the optics of that, Joe, is you're telling voters, I've learned some lessons from the first term. I'm going to be able to get along with the other side. They did a couple good things here, but here's what I would do differently. If I'm advising him, that's what I'm doing.
As we think about what we're going to see this week, without you and I don't know the numbers of, but what types of things are you looking for that if in the text of whatever they've negotiated would give you a little more confidence or make you feel like, yeah, maybe this is worth doing? What do you want to see?
So I'd rather see no entries for a 6-month period of time. As I understand it, the details...
Total freeze.
Yeah,
total
freeze. As I understand it, it could be up to 5,000 a day before the president can enact that, and that's over a week average. So that's a 1.8 million more people flowing into the country with nobody understanding how we're going to handle all of this. So I think there ought to be a total freeze for a period of time. similar to what Trump did when he first got into office on the travel ban.
Well, the travel ban was never. I mean, that was stopped by the courts, right? That's part of what I wrestle with here. Is I think there's two totally unacceptable realities here in the real world. One reality is zero total shutdown, not going to happen, whether you declare yourself to a border agent or not. Like, you cannot have a zero policy, and you cannot have.
I think you can for a period of time.
Okay, and you can't have what we have now. This is not sustainable. Right. And so,
ask Chicago, ask New York, ask Denver now.
What you need to do is figure out, how do you find the sane place in the middle? And among the chat, like, it is very easy. I know we're getting people on the text like, shut it all down. No way, no how. There will always be, and at least I hope, and I think, Bill, you agree with me on this. We hope that there will always be people who want a better life and see America as that better life and make their way here.
It's the founding principle of the country.
We want that to be a reality.
Yeah.
And so what we have to have is structures and systems that balance that and the need for this country to allow people to immigrate, right? That's how we grow. And that's how you grow an economy, is with more people. We got to have immigration to this country. How do we balance that? And like, part of the challenge here has been generations of underfunding the courts that process these folks, right? And I know the right likes to say that every asylum claim is just an attempt to work the system. I don't buy that. There are people with legitimate fears fleeing really nasty countries in Central and Latin America who need a better, not just want a better life, they need a better life. And so if we don't have the courts and the judges and the processors in place and the infrastructure to do things like, I think one of the things being negotiated is some type of like ankle monitoring bracelet, so that if we can't process people through a system immediately, we at least know where they are. Is that the kind of thing that Republicans are willing to have a conversation about?
It remains to be seen what's in that package. I think there are folks that want us, to blame Joe Biden for this, flat out. The day he became president, January 20th of 2021, he undid some executive orders with Donald Trump. He remained in Mexico. Title 42 eventually went away, which has caused this. And if you go all the way back, here's my advice to listeners. Believe what they say on the campaign trail. Joe Biden said he was for open borders on the campaign trail. Barack Obama said all the things he was going to do that Republicans ended up hating and pretended to be surprised about for the 8 years that he was president. Believe what they say on the campaign trail. Joe Biden caused this problem. Joe Biden needs this deal the most, but that doesn't mean that the country doesn't need a solution here. So I'm not automatically for waiting until January 21st of next year if we can get some progress this year.
That's Bill McCoshen. He's a Republican. I thought it would happen, and it sure has. We have poked the bear. That is the WTMJ talk and text line. Little shade coming Bill's way, a lot of shade coming my way, but we are not deterred. Just like we hope negotiators in Washington, D.C. aren't deterred, let's try to get something done on this issue. We've got a whole other kettle of fish, the ongoing dispute between the federal government and the state of Texas, to get to after the break on WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
Wake up with me. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. Tune in every Monday and Friday at 8:15 for Matzik's Morning Minute during Wisconsin's Morning News. Everything you need to know about all your favorite Wisconsin teams in just 60 seconds.
It's a true test to all of us, but I do believe in the guys in that locker room in terms of the character that we have.
Every Monday and Friday at 8:15 during Wisconsin's Morning News.
Lopez squeezes up a three, rattles another one through. Oh, it's contagious.
Sponsored by Holiday Automotive in Fond du Lac.
Hey, John Mercure here. I'm going on an incredible trip to southern Italy and Sicily. My wife and I would love for you to come with us. October 2024, what an itinerary. A full week in breathtaking Sicily, the stunning seaside towns with their cobblestone piazzas, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the breathtaking Amalfi Coast and Sorrento, taking the deep blue hues of the Mediterranean, sailing to Positano, plus visit historic Pompeii. Won't you come with us? Let me send you information on this great trip. It's john.mercure@WTMJ.com. John.mercure@WTMJ.com. Lots of food, great wine, time for shopping. It's Incredible Italy next fall. I'll send you one of our beautiful brochures if you send me an email. John.mercure@WTMJ.com. We'll also be adding on Rome. I love Rome. Come with us, won't you? October 2024, Incredible Italy. Breathtaking and stunning. John.Mercure, MERCURE at WTMJ.com.
Come away with me. There is, in principle, no empty spaces. Something is going to fill you. It could be bitterness, resentment, detachment, despair, or something else. Nature hates a vacuum. But God died for the love of sinners and lives to fill all creation.
The Physics of Forgiveness, this week on The Lutheran Hour.
The Lutheran Hour, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WTMJ.
WTMJ Now.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now with Bill McCoshen. That's me from the right, sitting in for Steve Scafidi, along with my pal Joe Zepecki from the left. And we're talking immigration and border. And Joe, we got some texters that are a little fired up about this. Zero entry. Bill is a moron. That's my favorite so far.
Zero. I didn't know your wife was listening this morning. Of course, there's one for me, too. What is the Democrat smoking? This guy is out in left field without a lawnmower. All right, I guess we haven't solved it yet, but we do have some calls, and I want to bring in Mike here. Mike, what's on your mind? Thanks for calling.
I'm basically disgusted by both parties. Joe Biden is, first of all, to blame, basically by opening the border. And he's only doing something about it because he's starting to lose political points as he did with all the riots during 2020. I'm equally disgusted by the Republican Party because, as you guys both have said, this is good for the country to get it done. And just because Donald Trump doesn't like it is one of the worst reasons I could hear to not, get something done on this. And that's all I got to say about it.
Thanks for the call, Mike. Appreciate that. I missed the first part. Will you, Bill, fill me in on what was the frustration with my side? I heard the frustration with Republicans.
Well, that Biden caused it.
Right? Got it.
And
okay.
now he's trying to bail himself out, and Republicans, are listening too much to Trump and not trying to find a solution. So I think between the texts and the first caller, and we're going to take others, you're seeing sort of the how difficult this can be, right? Where is that sweet spot that everyone can say, okay, it's not perfect, but it's a start?
I'll say there's no more challenging issue in American politics today than immigration.
Right.
There just isn't. Like, healthcare is complicated. Abortion is complicated. None of them are as complicated as immigration, in my view.
Well, one of the texters said, why didn't Trump get this done, in 2017 when he had a GOP Congress and a GOP Senate? Same could be said about Biden in 2021. He had Democrat House and Senate. And even when one party controls everything, it's a tough issue to solve.
I mean,
sure.
every president has tried this, right? Bush tried this, failed. Obama tried this, failed. The last meaningful immigration reform in this country, Ronald Reagan was president.
Yeah, you need...
That's a long time ago.
Process-wise, and this gets into the weeds, but you need 60 votes in the Senate for anything to pass. Does the Langford plan have the 60 vote? I'm doubtful of that, but who knows? I mean, Mitch McConnell is, except as it relates to judicial appointments, he's sort of part of the uniparty. I'm not a huge fan, right? I think he's too old, and it's time to move on. I'm not for term limits, but I am for a mandatory retirement age. I think some of these people stay way too long, and they lose their connection to regular people back home.
I don't want to bring the Ukraine piece of it in, but I listen, I'm no fan of Mitch McConnell, all right? I think he is actually at the root of a lot of what ails our politics. We won't go back to Merrick Garland today. I think McConnell wants a deal.
There's no doubt.
And he doesn't really care about what the deal is because he's trying to get the money for Ukraine, right, which is a conversation for another day. We do have another couple of calls. I know Peter's been holding for a while. Let's go to Peter from Wapaka. What's on your mind, Peter?
Hey, hello. Why is it so difficult for Republicans to do the right thing? Over and over again, for 10 years, they've been stopping legislation. They had a chance to actually do something under Trump, and they just did stupid stuff. But this is a whole issue with the Republican Party that they can't do the right thing when it's time to step up. And their false patriotism gets a little tiring.
Well, let's watch the false patriotism thing. We're all patriots in this room today. Here's my question to you, Peter. What is the right thing? How do you define what the right thing is here? We've been talking about how complicated this issue is.
It is a complicated issue. We need the people here. We need a legal way to help them. And what is the reason that's causing them to leave their country? The press wants conflict. They don't want you to get information. The coverage of this is so incredibly superficial, it's sickening.
Peter, I agree with that.
No argument here.
You can find the information that supports your position pretty easily, and that's what people are doing. They're not, what we need is a true fact set, right? You can have your own opinion, but not your own set of facts. So I agree that's lacking.
That's what we have. These days we have two sets of facts.
We do.
One set of facts from the right and one from the left. The middle ground has just gone away. A big part of this problem is gerrymandering, that we've got such crappy legislators.
Well, we're
going to get to that
Speaking
later.
of other issues, hey, thanks for the call, Peter from Wapaka. Just real quick, any reaction to that? We got to get to a break, Bill, but we're also going to get to the Texas of it all, Texas v. United States.
We may finally have the one issue between Haley and Trump that changes that race, right? If she sees the details and she's for it, or for it with a couple of modest changes, and he's still against it, then people will have a choice, right? Do they agree with him? Nothing until January of 2021, or do they agree with her? We got to do something about this now. This might be, with 3 weeks to go until South Carolina, the one issue that gets her some traction.
That's Republican Bill McCoshen. I'm Democratic strategist Joe Zepecki. We'll be back with more after the break.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
With Social Security, the longer you wait, the more money you may get. Deciding when to start taking your Social Security benefits is one of the most important retirement decisions you'll make. Our team of advisors at Drake & Associates can show you the options and help you decide on the best decision for you and your situation. You spent decades paying in, optimize what comes out. Our experienced team can help you squeeze every penny out of your Social Security benefits. I'd love to get you our Retirement Ready Toolkit, which includes guides such as the Social Security Decision. To receive this complimentary toolkit, call or text SS to 414-409-9982. That's calling or texting SS to 414-409-9982.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC, a Wisconsin insurance agency. Clients are under no obligation to purchase any recommended insurance products.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone, Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations, brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp, and new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry, Semper Fi.
WTMJ Now.
Don't ask me why I'm going to Texas, cause the reason.
Charlie's
well
on.
done.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now. It's Monday, and yes, this is not Steve Scafidi. It's
Nor am I.
No, neither one of us is Steve Scafidi. We've got 2/3 of the political power hour chopping it up today. We're still on immigration. I want to thank the the callers, including some we didn't get to, and many of the texters, not all of the texters. I would say some of the texters are not embracing the collaborative nature and agreeable disagreement that Bill and I have on this. And if you thought it was sticky before, we're getting into the stickiest of it all. So we teased this at the...
Have you seen the latest text from the 920? Fill the river with crocodiles? Maybe that's the solution.
We want to go back to moats and drawbridges? Come on, folks. Let's be serious. Being serious.
Yep.
So the state of Texas rolled out some razor wire across its portion of the border, and federal border agents wanted to get access through that border wire, or that razor wire, to aid, assist, respond to. They saw an individual floating in the river. They thought there was a medical emergency and crisis. It turned out there was. And the state of Texas denied those federal agents access through their razor wire. That started a legal proceeding that has gone all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court said to the state of Texas, you have to let the feds get the access they want in this area. The state of Texas has said, no, we're not going to do that. 24, 25 other states with Republican governors have said we stand with Texas. And we're going to be very responsible here and talk about this as it is, not in all of the scary ways it might go. But I do think it is fair to say, like, this is a hinge moment, a pivot moment where you have a conflict between the federal government and the states and questions over authority that is potentially very dangerous and very problematic. Am I characterizing this fairly? I'm from the left, you're from the right.
I think so.
Is there anything you want to add to the context of this before we kind of get into this conversation?
So there's some folks on the right that are super concerned about Amy Coney Barrett being one of the 5 on the U.S. Supreme Court who voted for this. I think if you go through the decision, I haven't read the whole thing, I think the key as it relates to her is providing access in times of emergency, not necessarily eliminating the razor wire or eliminating Texas's ability to do anything. I think there's a lot more water that will go under this bridge, so to speak, at the U.S. Supreme Court. I am for Texas's right to do what they need to do for their citizens. They have been under siege since January 20th of 2021 when Joe Biden was sworn in. They've taken a few measures, including busing or flying migrants to New York City, Denver, Chicago. Those cities are now overrun, similar to what South Texas is. So other Democratic mayors who called themselves sanctuary cities for a period of time are like, holy cow, we need some federal assistance here. Even J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, is now calling for more federal assistance. So this is a massive political problem for Joe Biden. I don't think there's any question about this. But on the law, Texas, I think, is pretty good shape to defend themselves, to protect themselves. And you now have 24 other governors, 25 total, including Greg Abbott, who are saying, this is a states' rights issue, and we should be able to do this our way. And if the federal government isn't going to do anything about this, then we will.
The U.S. Supreme Court did not say, Texas, you're not allowed to do this.
They didn't.
Right?
I agree with that.
What they said was, when the feds ask for access, you got to give it to them.
Yeah.
It is a Supreme Court.
By the way, that gets lost on my side sometimes.
Right. And so, and that's, and what I want to get to here is, like, states cannot just decide that the Supreme Court doesn't affect them. Right? At some point, you have to say, governors, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled on this. And again, this is a pretty narrowly defined decision saying, in an emergency, when the federal government requests access to that part of the border, you have to give it to them. Because for generations, the federal government has been viewed as paramount or has primacy on issues of immigration and the border. Why is Abbott and these other Republican governors turning it all the way up to 11 on such a narrow ruling? Is this all about the domestic political considerations? Like, is this what's happened to the base of the Republican Party, that they just have to be viewed as, like, whatever the feds say we are against? Because if that's the reality, somebody's got to walk them back from the ledge here, in my view, because you can't have state officials, Texas Rangers or whoever the heck it is down there on the border, saying to the feds, we don't care, we don't recognize the legal authority of what the U.S. Supreme Court decided. Down that road, trouble lies.
I think this is potentially dangerous. We talked about this a little bit in a previous segment. And the best way to de-escalate this is for the Biden White House, for the president himself, to ask Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, to come to the White House. Let's talk about this. Let's have a conversation about this, right? And see if they can't find an accommodation. It would look strong on Biden's part rather than weak. I think the Democrats, including the White House, have a lot to do with dialing up the temperature on this thing. When they talked about federalizing the National Guard of all of those states, that would be a disaster. I believe Customs and Border Patrol is on the side of Texas. I don't think they would fight for the federal government on this particular policy. But, I mean, that just shows the nonsense of where we're at as a country. I mean, why can't the president sit down with Greg Abbott and have a discussion about this and see if there isn't something that they could agree on? Maybe there's nothing, but at least attempt it. That's leadership.
Bill, you and I both know there actually is a lot they could agree on. I think the biggest secret in American politics is there are more Republicans and Democrats who understand that they agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the reward structures are set up that 99% of the conversation has to be about the 1 to 5% of things that we disagree on. And we're now seeing with this potential, flashpoint between states and the federal government, what the outcomes of this broken politics that we have. I'm concerned. I don't think we need to federalize any National Guard troops right now, but there does need to be a meeting of the minds, whether that's a summit at the White House where you bring, the president has powers to sign laws and veto laws, but he also has a really strong convening power. And you know what? If Barack Obama can have a beer summit with a cop and a black professor from Harvard, Joe Biden can bring J.B. Pritzker
Texas,
and Greg Abbott.
New Mexico and Arizona, they're coming. Flat out, they're coming.
Exactly. And so I think part of the calculus here is going to be how do those governors and how does that conversation about what's happening at the border right now impact these negotiations on Capitol Hill? And do you bring Secretary Mayorkas to that meeting with 3 governors who are probably urging their home state senators to toss this guy out of here?
Yeah, I don't think you do. I think he's in a place where he can't be resurrected. Whether or not they impeach him in the House remains to be seen. I think they can probably get the votes. Again, I'll repeat, I think the timing's wrong. It should have happened last fall, not now. We're now into election season, and they ought to be focused on the future, not the past. But that's where we are.
I've been posing tough questions to you. You got any for me?
So
turnabout's fair play here.
Why isn't Biden more engaged in this? Why? He could do some of this. You and I have had this conversation offline, right? I believe there's a lot he could do from an executive standpoint today. He doesn't necessarily need that full bill. He might need pieces of that bill, but there are things he can do from an executive standpoint that Donald Trump did. Why doesn't he just do the basics here?
I think his argument would be, and what I believe to be true, is that they have used the increases in border funding and the number of border agents that have grown, and they are looking at the numbers and the data, and they are saying, we are encountering more immigrants at the border than happened during the Trump administration.
Because he asked for them to come.
And that means that, right, if there's a record of folks coming, if there are interactions with them, it means the border isn't open, right? We're intercepting folks. And then the question becomes, what do you do with them, right?
Well, it's catch and release.
And so that is, we think, and it's been reported, part of the negotiation. Can we get to a place where under the laws of this country, because right now the laws of this country say if you declare, for political asylum, you have a process that you have to go through. They're trying to amend that and get to a place where I don't know if it was the Remain in Mexico one, but Democrats, I believe, have already said they're open to, for the first time ever, saying even if you file for asylum during your interaction with the Border Patrol or border agents, that they will try to work a process to get you back to your country of origin until such time as we can process those claims. And so part of that has to be we've upped the number of border agents and spending on border security, and there's been troops at the border for a while now. And it can't all just be on that guys with guns side. it also has to be on the court side, on the processing, to try to figure out how many of these claims are valid, right? It should not be the policy of the United States to when an immigrant who wants to work hard and live the American dream and is fleeing persecution in their home country, our answer should not be reflexively, no way, no how, we ain't going to have you. That's not who we are. It's never who we've been. And so I think what the Biden administration is trying to do is, how do we balance the enforcement with an actual process that allows these folks to follow the rules? If we need to change some rules, let's change them. So I think he's doing some of the things. That's my answer.
Where you and I will disagree is I don't believe Biden will get credit. If this thing falls apart, and it looks like it may because the House GOP has said they're not going to do it, if Donald Trump goes to Eagle Pass and as part of his agenda he talks about what Biden can do today, I think that's going to be very hard for Biden to overcome. If I'm them, listen, your wife's worked in an administration, I've worked in an administration. The executive has way more power than the legislature. They just do. And they have way more tools, and they have the bully pulpit. If they wanted to fix his number one problem outside of his age, they would do something more aggressive.
You know, and I know that Donald Trump doesn't have that club in his bag. Donald Trump cannot sit here and say, these are the policies that I would change. This is what I would prescribe. This is what I would do if I was president. What he's going to go out there and do is vilify and demonize and divide people by promising the largest deportation roundup in American history. Right? Like, that's the rhetoric that we get from him. And so, like, that's the other challenge that I have is I think Biden also understands tactically that the more he weighs in early, not just on immigration, but on a lot of these, he has to sort of be like strategically apart, or he will ruin the negotiations just by virtue of being in them.
No, I get that.
Right? And so
he's
got to pick his moment, and his moment is almost always like way at the end. The role for Joe Biden to play here, probably, and I'm putting on my looking glass here, my prediction is that whatever deal gets struck is going to be harder for Democrats to swallow on Capitol Hill than Republicans.
I think
it's going to be that tough a border security bill. And the job of Joe Biden is going to be to whip Democrats into voting for this and saying this has to happen. That's his role on the politics of this.
Well, he's probably going to need 30 Democratic senators, don't you think? I mean, you got to get to 60. Can he get 30 and 30? Maybe. I don't know if there are 30 Republicans who would vote for this. I think it's probably closer to 10.
If he gets that done, he is the second coming of Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Right? Which means he's got to get almost all the Democrats in the Senate. So either something's going on that we don't know. And by the way, there are no mysteries in politics, only facts you do not have. And that's where I think we're at right now. And we'll see in a couple of days what's in the Langford plan. And by the way, the advice I gave Donald Trump, I would give to Nikki Haley. If you want to scoop Trump, go to Eagle Pass first. Announce your plan.
He's good with a turn of phrase. He's Bill McCoshen. I'm Joe Zepecki. More WTMJ Now after this.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Flimsy, feeble, flaccid. That's how you can describe most pre-approval letters these days. Heck, a lot of big banks issue pre-approval letters using soft credit pulls instead of real credit reports. Do you really want to compete in today's still low inventory market with a soft credit pull and a pre-approval that's silent on 2 of the 3 critical elements of a mortgage approval? A rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval from AccuNet not only verifies your credit with a real credit report, we also verify your income and down payment, and then issue a letter with a $2,000 guarantee to back it up. And now, AccuNet is issuing property-specific pre-approvals that often come with this sweet phrase: no appraisal required. That's right, AccuNet may be able to issue your pre-approval at or above the seller's asking price without needing an appraisal. Today's home market is still a metaphorical knife fight. Your bank is offering you, well, a pocket knife. AccuNet is Crocodile Dundee. Now that's a knife, mate. Click on the blue button today at accunet.com.
A jewelry store can be a pretty scary place. It's full of diamonds and gold, and sometimes the salespeople can make you feel like you really don't belong.
Who wants to feel like that? Buying a diamond should be one of the happiest and most exciting moments of your life, and we promise to make it that way for you. Cross my heart. No matter your age, how you're dressed, or how much money you have, you're going to have a magical experience when you come to Kessler's.
You're going to see the largest selection of diamond engagement rings in one place at one time than you've ever seen in your life.
Looking at rings is a wonderful way to spend time together. And when you find the ring you know is the one, but cash might be a little tight, we've got fantastic financing available and we'll work hard to get you approved.
We're on your side. Kessler's is always on your side. We're 8 stores strong with 6 locations in Wisconsin and 2 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We'd be thrilled to have you stop in and see what we're all about.
Fleet Farm's got everything you need for everyday life. Brands from Carhartt to Milwaukee to Purina to Goodyear to Rapala to Levi's and a whole lot more. In-store or online, check out all the brands Fleet Farm carries to help make your everyday life better.
Are you curious about QC Kinetics? Let me tell you what we do.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, a medical director at QC Kinetics.
We treat people who have joint pain, and we use your body's healing properties, the things that you already have in you, in your blood, to heal your knee pain, your joint pain, your shoulder pain, your back pain. You have everything that you need in you already.
The same natural process that heals a cut on your finger also works inside your body.
And so what we do at QC Kinetics is take those healing properties, concentrate them down from your body, and put them where they need to go. We are the experts in regenerative medicine. That's all we do.
And best of all, there's no surgery, no downtime, or harmful drugs.
This is the future of medicine.
And your consultation is completely free. Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
It's WTMJ Now.
Welcome back to the Political Power Hour special edition with only 2/3 of the usual crew, and we're getting some feedback. Bill, we got a little text from the 920. You guys do better without Steve. Ooh. Oh, they said it, not us. I hope he's not listening, Uncle Steve.
We miss you, Steve.
We do miss him. We'll be back on Friday with him, and it'll be a better conversation. Before the hour ends here, three quick questions just to kind of wrap this up. Question number 1. Does Secretary Mayorkas get impeached and removed in the coming weeks?
Yes, no.
So he gets impeached in the House.
Yes.
They don't remove him in the Senate.
Correct.
I agree with that. Question 2. Does an immigration bill, border security bill of any kind, whatever's in it, can the two sides get to yes on something this Congress, meaning before November in the election?
My gut wants to say no because I don't think there are enough adults in D.C. to do it. But Biden needs it so badly, I think he'll be willing to give. So I'm a wait and see on that.
Given the bipartisan wins, CHIPS Act, bipartisan infrastructure law, it's kind of like the Patrick Mahomes theory, right? If he's on a streak, can you bet against the guy? If anybody can figure it out, I think Biden can. I hope he does. Third question. Can the great state of Texas and the United States of America, the federal government, solve this, spat that we're having and come to an agreement and an understanding without any escalation of tensions?
They have to. They got to dial down the rhetoric on both sides. They got to have a meeting of the minds, see if they can find some common ground. It may not be completely common ground, but at least dial this thing down so that people understand what the pathway forward is.
Amen. I hope you're right. I think you're right. And that wraps up the second hour of the special Bill and Joe Monday edition of WTMJ Now.
More of WTMJ Now after this. Your weekly Bucks breakdown is back.
They want to win equally as bad as I do.
Bucks Weekly on WTMJ.
Now he joins a team where you have, as he has put it, the best player in the league.
And a new year brings new faces.
You'll see that I've gotten better year after year after year after year.
Get the latest news, analysis, and insight on your Milwaukee Bucks all season long. Bucks Weekly with Justin Garcia every Monday night at 8 on WTMJ. And catch the podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Losing sleep lately? The job, the house, the headlines, or investments? How about the feeling your investment partner isn't a partner at all? They might be operating in someone's best interest, but that someone isn't you. It's time for Annex Wealth Management. It's easy. Head to annexwealth.com, click the Get Started button. We work in your best interest as a fiduciary. That commitment runs so deep, we put it in writing. Does your advisor do that? Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Start at annexwealth.com.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No fee refund advance is offered to eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Matt had just moved into his first apartment and needed furniture to fill it, but he didn't have a big credit line. So I told him about St. Vincent de Paul. There's always a nice selection of gently used furniture there, and sometimes you can find some really cool retro pieces. And the best part is, it's always super affordable. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores for first-time furniture buyers or anyone looking for great deals on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why, through the end of February, the Auto Dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 13 years, Adam has provided more than 2.4 million meals to people in southeastern Wisconsin. And now, the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at adamm.com.
I couldn't even bend over, but now after stem cell treatment, I can deadlift a house.
Now this is an exaggeration, but I do hear about unbelievable miracle outcomes, and I have to ask, do you really believe them? If they were true, these biological treatments wouldn't even have to be advertised. Truth is, stem cell effectiveness is nowhere near 100%. It's expensive, and it doesn't last. At Rejuvenex, our FDA-approved pharmacological treatments ease inflammation and reduce pain. They're precisely administered to where your pain lives, and they work. Will the pain reduction last forever? No. But in some cases, relief has lasted as long as 24 months, and in most cases, insurance has paid for the treatments entirely. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics, where we can alleviate your pain and rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain. Rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. The Doc is in.
I'm not a real doctor. I'm just Doc Rivers.
Congratulations to Doc Rivers, officially the newest head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks.
If you want to be champions, you know you're going to get hit, all right?
Keep it tuned here for all things Milwaukee basketball. We are the home of the Bucks. WTMJ.
Good morning, 11:03. We have cloudy skies, 37 degrees. High today, 42. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin returned to work at the Pentagon today after yesterday's deadly attack on U.S. forces in the Middle East.
Let me start with my outrage and sorrow for the death of 3 brave U.S. troops in Jordan and for the other troops who were wounded.
The U.S. Central Command's confirmed 25 service members were injured near the Syrian border in northeast Jordan. Marks the first U.S. troops killed by enemy fire in the Middle East since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. 3 Delavan residents and a suspect hurt after a home invasion Sunday morning. TMJ4 reporting the invasion was at a home on Burr Oak Court. Delavan City Police and authorities found the 3 residents hurt but expect them to survive. The suspect injured, taken into custody, then to the hospital to be treated. Authorities believe the suspect acted alone, and in a press release on Sunday, police said, "We applaud this family whose quick and decisive actions averted potential tragedy. The case is still under investigation." Milwaukee County supervisors demanding answers from the Milwaukee County Zoo as to why a proposed penguin exhibit will cost around $1.5 million more than initially proposed. At a Committee on Parks and Culture meeting last week, Supervisor Steve Taylor was critical of a design error with the exhibit's sand filters.
Now you want basically 20% of our contingency in the first month of the year. Somebody's head should roll for that kind of mistake of missing the boat on the size of a filter. I mean, holy cow.
Ultimately, the county's Finance Committee granted the request, which will go to the full board for final approval. A case of chronic wasting disease detected in a Sheboygan deer. Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reports the positive test was confirmed by the National Veterinary Services Laboratories. CWD is a fatal neurological disease of deer, elk, and moose caused by an infectious protein. Tax season is here, and the IRS has some new free tools that could help people file their returns more easily. More from ABC's Trevor
You might have
Ault.
also heard about the IRS's new direct filing service that's meant to rival TurboTax or H&R Block, but for free. This is a pilot program this year, so it's only going to be available to a small number of people in just a dozen states, but that could expand in the future. Of course, the good news that everyone's going to want to hear about, refunds expected to go up about 10% this year.
Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is down 14 points. NASDAQ is up 44. The S&P 500 is up 4. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Financial planning at every level. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:05.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try soon. Harry's is available online and in-store at a retailer near you. Get a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/quality. That's harrys.com/quality. Or check us out at your local Costco for a price you can't find anywhere else. Just look for the Chrome Razor with 13 blade refills at your local Costco. You can't miss it. Exclusive to Costco members.
Our mission is to protect and uphold our reputation. At Semper Fi, it's the banner we all march under, because the reputation we earn and uphold belongs to all of us. And without a strong reputation in the exterior remodeling business, you're here today and gone tomorrow. And when you've earned a good reputation, that's what makes the difference in value. It's the little extra that you get for the price. And that assurance is actually what counts the most, because it means the good money you're spending with us is not going to go to waste. A roof you can rely on, with a warranty that has a backbone. Craftsman quality airtight window and door installations. Brick and stone masonry that's clean and sharp. And new siding that's been known to stop traffic. And it's all backed by a team that over the last 20 years have put a lot of heart and soul into building a reputation that you can believe in. This is Brad Youngbluth with Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors, your local, veteran-owned and operated exterior remodeling company.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
Dominating the Pelicans on Saturday night. The Bucks are back out in the Mile High City tonight to take on the Nuggets. 32-14 Bucks will welcome in Doc Rivers to make his debut as head coach beginning tonight.
We all know what he brings. You know, we heard his voice, him coaching other teams. You know, he's had success, played in this league. He went to school in this city, been around a long time as a coach. You know, he's coached a lot of great players. So I think you would have a hard time thinking of something that he hasn't experienced.
Milwaukee will look to begin their 5-game West Coast road trip tonight with an 8 p.m. tip time in Denver. Super Bowl 58 is all set. The 49ers knocking off the Detroit Lions Sunday 34-31. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes heading back to the Super Bowl after the Chiefs knocked off the Ravens 17-10. It'll be a rematch from 4 years ago. Niners-Chiefs, February 11th from Las Vegas. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Take a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. I-94 East at I-41 South. There is an incident there just blocking the left shoulder. Shouldn't cause too many problems. Other than that, look for just some slowing in the construction zone. I-43 North from downtown to Brown Deer Road.
Traffic is sponsored by TaybackAttorneys.com. Hurt at work? Call Tayback for the payback. An injury at work may leave you eligible for compensation benefits, including lost wages, coverage of medical bills, or a cash settlement. Call Tayback for the payback. TaybackAttorneys.com.
Your WTMJ 5-day forecast, mostly cloudy today, maybe an evening shower with a high today 42 and a rain or snow mix overnight with a low 35. A mix early tomorrow, cloudy with a high 40. Wednesday and Thursday, partly cloudy 44. Friday, partly cloudy with a high of 38. Madison's at 29, Green Bay 31, Milwaukee 37 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:09.
When the big man is out, the boys come out to play. It's WTMJ Now. News, opinion, Wisconsin. Here are your hosts, Joe Zepecki and Bill McCoshen.
Just take those old records off the shelf.
Charlie's killing it today with the intros. I love it.
I didn't know we had that promo in the can. That's
right?
the first time I've
either.
heard that.
Somebody
That's amazing.
taped that last week. I love it. So, welcome back to Hour 3 of WTMJ Now. I'm Bill McCoshen from the right, sitting in with Joe Zepecki from the left. Steve Scafidi, our good buddy's out today on a much-needed day off, but we'll be back Friday for the Political Power Hour.
And Steve will be back tomorrow.
So this is Maps Week, okay?
I thought last week was Maps Week.
No. This is Maps Week. According to our Supreme Court, maps have to be a map needs to be chosen by February 1st, or the court will ask their two new $100,000 consultants to draw maps. So what say you? Do we need to be in all this chaos over maps?
I like Maps Mania. It's a little more alliterative than Maps
like
Chaos. So you got to catch me up. So last week, we had the legislature try to get maps that would have superseded the 6 or 7 that have been submitted to the court. Right? And so, listen, Evers isn't going to sign what the legislature passed. He may have vetoed it already. They're not going to get another crack at this. The court is going to now assess the 6 maps or 7 maps. And so that clock starts February 1, which is what, Thursday morning?
Thursday morning.
That's not when they choose one of them, though.
They could, but it's more likely they'll choose a path. They could choose a map on Thursday, but it's more likely they'll choose a path that'll play out over the following 6 weeks. So somewhere around the middle of March, we expect to have quote-unquote final maps. That, of course, is barring any appeals to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay, at this point, I am confident that this is a job for the court, and I did not like the rhetoric last week, particularly from Republicans. And this part specifically. Listen, I wish we lived in a world where legislatures and governors could work together and draw maps that were fair, as opposed to incumbent protection maps.
Yeah.
And I have a real problem with legislators coming out and saying, they drew me out of my district. It ain't your district, assembly person or state senator. And
it's the people's district.
Exactly. It is the people's district. And what I thought Republicans, by going so hard on that last week and saying these were my district and they drew me out, they kind of gave Democrats an opening just on the messaging front on this to say this is exactly why you can't trust politicians to do these maps. This is what Democrats have been saying for years. Politicians should not pick their voters. Voters should pick their politicians. And a true Iowa-style redistricting commission takes the politicians out of it.
So why won't the governor agree to that?
Because it wasn't Iowa style. They tried to call it Iowa style, but there were still politicians in the legislature involved.
The Legislative Council said they were substantially similar. There were no noticeable differences. So let me start from the big picture and take it back to today, where we're at. This could have been solved last fall. Republicans said uncle, if you will, on the Iowa maps. They'd been saying no for a decade. Finally, the Republicans said, we'll do an Iowa-style map. It had minor differences from the actual Iowa model as to what happens if there is an agreement between the governor and the legislature. Just to be clear, the legislature is the only one who has the constitutional power to redistrict. So there is that. The Assembly passed it. The Senate chose not to pass it at the time. That was, I think, a political mistake. I think they should have done that, put it on the governor's desk, and held his feet to the fire. He had said in the 2018 campaign, he said in the 2022 campaign, he wants fair maps. He's for the Iowa model. So put his money where his mouth is. We didn't do that. And I think that was a tactical mistake on Republicans' part. The Supreme Court race last spring turned out to be a massive sea change in where this court is going. And we all knew that during the race. Some of us tried to project a different path. That's not the path we got, and we got slaughtered by 11 points. So Janet Protasewicz, the new progressive majority, has said, yeah, these maps aren't contiguous. By the way, that is the most nonsense argument ever, because we haven't had contiguous maps in the state of Wisconsin for the past 50 years. There are political islands, largely from annexation, or those that have no voters in them at all, that have existed in every set of maps that have been drawn either by Republicans in 2011 or by the courts in every other cycle. So I think they used a very narrow criteria to get themselves to a point where they could say, new maps, we need new maps. And then they added something. They have to have sort of the partisan breakdown, which has never been in the maps before.
I don't love that.
I think that's actually the pathway to get to the U.S. Supreme Court myself. I'm not an attorney. That's something for Steve to talk with Rick Essenberg about, but I think that's their weakest point is that there has to be some political makeup. So fast forward to today. Republicans last week said, okay, the court's going to do what the court's going to do. There's nothing we can do to stop that. So let's take Governor Evers' maps, which were highly gerrymandered. I agree with you. These aren't any individual lawmaker's seat. They're the people's seats. I don't think that was our greatest argument, but I think it does illustrate how gerrymandered the governor's maps were when he put 30 Republican lawmakers into the same seat in different areas of the state. It was intentional, which is the definition of gerrymandering. So we go from what you Democrats have said is a Republican gerrymander to a Democrat gerrymander. I think it's all bad. And the sad part is, Joe, we could see this all again next summer if Brad Schimmel or Jennifer Doro or whomever wins the Supreme Court back for the conservative majority.
The politics never stops. Not in Wisconsin, not on WTMJ. We're in for Steve. A little bit more to go here. I think we might have a few more takes on the maps after the break. If you want to weigh in, WTMJ Talk and Text line is open, 855-616-1620. More with me, Joe, and Bill after the break.
More of WTMJ now after this.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
Hi there. I was trying to report a traffic accident for your traffic reporter, Debbie Lazica.
Call me, Debbie Lazica, at thehallmazda.com traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
Hi, Debbie. It's Michael. Eastbound 894, and there's the fender bender, and these guys are blocking the right lane.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it? Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
Do you check your savings account and wonder if you're even saving at all? At Town Bank, we view banking differently and actually want to see your savings grow. With our amazing new CD rates, you can now earn even more, so you can sit back and relax. Stop banking the same way, expecting different results, and start earning more. Go to townbank.us/locknewrates or visit a Town Bank branch nearest you today. Bank differently with Town Bank. Member FDIC.
Brewers win! Get more from your live baseball experience with the 2024 Brewers Ticket Plan. On sale now. Don't miss more exclusive Brewers season seat holder rewards, like your very own batting practice session, more can't-miss action, and more access to the game you love. It's your ticket to being a VIP Brewers fan this season. Plus, you'll enjoy savings on ticket prices you can't get anywhere else. Learn more at brewers.com/ticket plans.
988 Wisconsin Lifeline. How can I help you?
Share hope, find purpose when you become a 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselor. The 988 Wisconsin Lifeline provides free and confidential support to anyone experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis. Staffed by Family Services, 988 has experienced tremendous growth, and more statewide counselors are needed to answer calls, texts, and chats to the Lifeline. If you want to share hope and find purpose in your next job, apply now. You can work remotely from anywhere in Wisconsin. Training is provided and flexible hours are available. 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselors enjoy competitive compensation and benefits packages. Most importantly, you can share hope and find purpose when you become a 988 Wisconsin Lifeline counselor. Apply today at 988lifelinecounselor.org. Family Services is an equal opportunity employer.
Paid for by grants from SAMHSA and the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
WTMJ Now.
Welcome back. This is Joe. I'm the Democratic strategist in the room, alongside my friend Bill McCoshen, the Republican strategist in the room. We're just chugging.
The old guy had to sit down.
We're chugging along. The old guy had to sit down. I'm Pat McAfee in it today. If you're watching on the live stream, I hope they're
tank top
angled
on.
up. Yeah, well, I'm going to tear the sleeves off, Hulk style.
Yeah,
you got to pay extra for that. Little bit more conversation around the maps before we change topics. A texter from the 262. Not familiar with the term Iowa maps. Can you please explain? So, in the Wisconsin State Constitution, the legislature and the governor are empowered to draw legislative districts for the state of Wisconsin. Do I have that right?
Not exactly. The governor's assumed. He's not actually mentioned in the Constitution.
It's implicit.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a power given to the legislature.
Correct.
In Iowa, their constitution names their state Supreme Court as sort of the final arbiter.
That's correct.
So what they do in Iowa, as I understand the Iowa model, is not that the legislators sit down and draw a map and then they submit it to the Supreme Court. It's that they have a commission.
They have a third-party commission.
A third-party commission of like retired judges, experts, panelists, who they create maps, then submit them to the state Supreme Court, and then Iowa's Supreme Court says yay or nay and signs off on it. So that's, from my standpoint, that takes the politicians out of it.
Right.
There's politics involved in everything, right? But
no question.
It certainly insulates politics from it more so than a process where you have a legislature empowered to deal with maps.
This is similar to the immigration situation where the governor had an opportunity, and he still does, frankly. The bill's on his desk to sign the maps he introduced with, I would say, modest changes.
If there's changes, they're not his maps.
But
That's
they
a
are.
nice sleight of hand.
But they are, right? And while whether some agree or disagree with the strategy to go forward with that, there was risk involved for sure. But I think the calculation was he would veto it, and they'd be able to say that. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. But my hope is, Joe, that this Supreme Court, progressively led, lets these independent consultants actually draw the maps. If we're at this point where we're going to put our voters through all of this over the next couple of months, and oh, by the way, there may be a congressional map case coming. There's now one that's been filed, so we're not done with this. Then let the outsiders draw the maps.
We were talking during the break about, the reality of this is that we live in a world where with statistical analysis and computational models and
you could do this at home on a Saturday.
Granularity that there are people who do it at home. And so anybody, whether they're a politician or not, or a judge or not, anybody who submits a map is going to be able to score it, giving historical election outcomes. And that's where you see, so like there's been 6 or 7 maps submitted to the court, and people have been on the internet sort of scoring them. This map would bake in probably this many Republican seats and probably this many Democratic seats. This many would be genuine toss-up seats. We can't unring the bell of living in that world. And so for my druthers, what I want to see then, if this is the world we live in, one way or the other, I want to get us to a place where we have more districts that are more competitive, right? So neither side is sort of guaranteed a drawn majority, that it ultimately comes down to those independent, moderate swing voters in the middle who determine not just individual races, but ultimately control of the legislature, because I think that's the only way you can make the legislature more responsive to the changing whims of the public, and that's how this is supposed to work.
So let's talk about scoring. So I said a couple of minutes ago, I think the contiguousness argument is actually legal precedent. It's baked in and has been for 50 years. It's not the strongest argument against the current maps. But since this Supreme Court has said it is a major criteria, then if you score the 6 maps that have been submitted, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty scores best. Theirs is the most contiguous. It splits the fewest number of communities, the fewest number of counties. It doesn't deal with something called least change, which means you have to do as little as possible to exist
from
in
the
districts.
last time.
Yeah. Which was a legal theory at the time, and it was approved by the United States Supreme Court. And now we're dealing with contiguousness and partisan makeup, which are two very different things. But if contiguousness is the number one issue, and I think that's what this Supreme Court said it was, then the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty maps are the best.
So what happens next? February 1.
February 1, the court could choose one of the maps that have been submitted.
At any point between February 1 and mid-March?
Right.
Or there's not? Are there further rounds of?
I think it goes till March 15th.
Got it.
They have to be done by then. Or they can turn it over to these consultants through the month of February to try and come up with something different, and then the Supreme Court would stamp them as approved. People would start running, start raising money, figure out if you got to say goodbye to a longtime colleague because you're in the same seat or whatever. But the end of session is also going on, and we're going to talk about taxes in the next segment. This complicates everything else that's going on in the building. All lawmakers are focused on is where are my district lines? Do I still represent, quote, the 73rd Assembly District, which is my hometown of Superior?
Got a new bridge coming up there, don't you?
I'm getting a new bridge.
Who do you have
we
to
need
thank,
it.
Who do you have to thank for that?
I would say Pete Stauber from Duluth, right? and Tom Tiffany,
who voted no on the bipartisan. How about that?
I got a funny story about the Blotnick Bridge. Someday I'll tell you.
How long does it take? We got a minute here.
All right. Well, the Blotnick Bridge has some connection to my father voting against Jimmy Carter. So in 1980, Carter imposed a grain embargo on Russia. There were grain trucks lined up over the Blotnick Bridge from Superior, Wisconsin to Cloquet, Minnesota. If you don't know the geography, that's 35 miles. Those were guys from Iowa or somewhere else who couldn't unload their grain because it wasn't being shipped out. Yep. That's when the Twin Ports started to go from deep blue to slightly red, and that's where I believe, at least in Wisconsin, folks like my dad became Reagan Democrats.
Wow.
Got a connection to the Blotnick Bridge.
Gotta love the history. That Blotnick Bridge is going to be replaced or repaired?
Repaired. Serious repair. It's $1 billion.
Billion-dollar job. Thanks
right now,
to
they can't put truck traffic on it.
Well, that's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah.
No.
And so that is part of the bipartisan infrastructure deal. Joe Biden was in Wisconsin last week.
He's in Superior.
Heralding that and reminding folks that there's Republicans around the country taking credit for infrastructure projects.
Little pork here and there goes a long way.
They voted against on the floor of the Congress. 8 politics, great.
Love it.
I know Charlie loves it. We're having a good time today. We got to take another break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little taxes, and then we're going to get into the really fun one. Bill is going to try to educate me about what is happening in his slice of the internet with whether or not Taylor Swift is an op. I'm not even sure I know what that means. So Bill's going to coach me up, give me the latest need to know on Taylor Swift.
And
maybe
taking us out today.
Puncture some conspiracy theories along the way. This is WTMJ Now. Come on back with us.
More of WTMJ Now after this. Headed out west to Rocky Mountain Way.
Beasley, this would be the triple-double, and Dame knocks it down. Consecutive games with a triple-double.
The Bucks travel a mile high for a matchup against the Nuggets in Denver. Our Bucks Radio Network game day coverage starts tonight at 7:30.
Bounce pass to Giannis. He takes it in and takes no mercy on the rim. His freight train number 34 goes barreling down.
We are the home of the Bucks. WTMJ.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Chris and Tim closed their first loan with Accunet $116,000 ago in terms of the median sales price in southeastern Wisconsin. We helped their daughter buy a home earlier this year, and now we're helping them buy their retirement condo. We're told there were 3 offers, 2 cash offers, and Chris and Tim's offer backed up by an Accunet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. All 3 offers were probably over the asking price, but we're surmising Chris and Tim's offer was the highest because when the sellers asked the listing broker if they could count on the offer with the pre-approval letter, the answer was simply, Accunet really does their homework. It's not easy to beat a cash offer over the asking price, but that's exactly what Tim and Chris did with some help from their trusted family mortgage lender. If you don't think the lender's name on your pre-approval letter matters, think again. It's still a seller's market in the Badger State, so click on the blue button at Accunet.com today to get started with your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Just like most cars and trucks can't run without oil, no person can function without food. That's why, through the end of February, the Auto Dealers of Metro Milwaukee is contributing $1 from every oil change to Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. Every dollar provides 3 healthy meals. Over the past 13 years, Adam has provided more than 2.4 million meals to people in southeastern Wisconsin. And now, the need is greater than ever. Find a participating Adam dealer near you at ADAMM.com.
WTMJ Now.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now. This is Joe Zepecki. I'm alongside my friend Bill McCoshen. We're sitting in for Steve Scafidi, and boy, if he could just see the number of texts rolling in talking about how much better we are without him. Again, those are the texters' words, not my words. I would never suggest that. We can't wait to be back with Steve on Friday. Bill teased it before the break. So the other, outside of the maps, and I understand, it was a great point that while this maps drama plays out, a lot of the bandwidth, in legislators' brains goes to where are my district lines? Am I going to run again? If I run again, who am I going to have to run against? Is it going to have to be a colleague from the same party? And we need them to legislate also and to deal with some maybe leftover business that was unresolved in the budget process last year. Part of that is we're still sitting on a surplus, and a tax deal did not get done last year. So what do we know about what Republicans rolled out last week, and what do we think the likelihood is that it sees action in the next couple of weeks?
Well, it'll see action. It'll be on the floor of the State Assembly on February 13th, and it'll pass. The question is, will it be bipartisan in nature? And frankly, if I'm up or maybe up in a brand new seat, which all 99 are going to be faced with, I got to look hard at this. So a little bit of backstory. The Republicans have passed two major tax cuts, one in the budget and then one last fall, both of which the governor vetoed. They believe this third attempt addresses all of his concerns. It takes care of retirees. It actually helps middle class the most by raising sort of the second to lowest bracket, makes it bigger. So $38,000 isn't the family income anymore. It's $150,000 where you get the lower tax amount at 4.4%. I give Speaker Voss credit, co-chairman Mark Bourne, co-chairman Howard Markline, and Devin LeMahieu, the majority leader in the Senate, credit for not giving up. I mean, this is a little like Lucy with the football. They've tried twice already, and the governor's pulled away the football. Taxpayers are hurting. We know that. We can disagree that the stats out there economically are improving, and that's probably factually true, but people aren't feeling it. And Republicans are working really hard to make sure that they get some of their hard-earned money back in their pockets. So the governor was open on this new tax cut last week on a couple programs I saw him on. He didn't commit to anything, but from a political standpoint, this might not be the best thing to do. It might be better to run against Democrats who've already voted twice against tax cuts.
Oh, Bill loves playing politics.
He's going to give them one more. Republicans are going to give you one more chance, Joe. It's up to your party to take that chance, or we're taking our ball and we're going home.
Wow, that's okay. So this, in addition to being an income tax adjustment, there would be credits for retirees on fixed income.
And childcare.
Significant increase the marriage tax credit to keep, basically that hasn't been adjusted here in Wisconsin since 2001, and it would get it back to where it would have been had you indexed that for inflation over time. So I think
it's good for Wisconsin.
I think that those last couple things that I mentioned, those are the relatively easy ones: the child care tax credit, the senior tax credit, and the marriage tax credit. If I were advising the governor, I would say that part, let's do it. I still have questions about the middle class portion of it because we want to make sure that is as targeted as possible. I don't think it's possible with this legislature to go back to where we were. Remember, it just cut an entire bracket. It still strikes me as a little bizarre that your $38,001st dollar is taxed at the same level as your $149,999th dollar.
And that gets fixed.
That's a big stretch. And
Agreed.
so that's what I want to see the details on, is to make sure that, as Evers has said over and over again, this really is benefiting the middle class and is targeted. Republican legislators are saying they're listening and they've heard the governor, and that's why they structured it this way. The devil is in the details. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting. So that's what we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks as this goes through committee and then to the floor, or straight to the floor on the 13th?
It'll go through committees this week. It'll go to the Joint Finance Committee. It'll be on the floor of the Senate or the Assembly on the 13th. The Assembly is going to meet 4 more times in this month of February, and then they'll be done.
For the year?
Yeah, the Senate.
Wait.
Senate.
They don't have to go to work from March until November?
They'll be fighting maps in the Supreme Court.
Why do we have a full-time legislature again?
It's not very different than German times of any other legislature in the history of the state of Wisconsin.
But they're going to
generally go to March, and the Senate is going to go till March, and so they will be the last body to vote on this tax cut before it goes to the governor. But I think there will be bipartisan support. The question is whether or not the governor will sign it this time.
So before they take a 9-month break for Valentine's Day, they might give everybody a marriage tax credit sweetener on February 13th.
We love that, right? With a heart on it.
You got your Valentine's Day plans? What are you doing for your sweetie?
It's too early. I got 15 days to her. 18
you just
days
said
to
February
think about
13th, and I went, what is it with that day? Oh, that's when I usually think about what I get for Valentine's
Right,
Day.
exactly. Yeah.
All
I
right.
got time.
So stay tuned on the tax cuts. Maybe we'll have an update on Friday in the Political Power Hour with Steve to give you the people. Come on back. We're not out of here yet. We're Bill and Joe. No Steve today. He'll be back tomorrow. Keep the texts coming in. You said I was pulling somebody's leg, but the 262 says, I vote for Bill and Joe as at least once weekly regular new midday hosts. I don't know if Steve Scafidi gets that kind of feedback. God, I hope he's listening. Come on back after the break.
More of WTMJ now after this.
According to the U.S. debt clock, our debt is over $32 trillion and climbing. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? At Drake & Associates, we can help you create a plan so your retirement is tax efficient as possible. If you'd like to continue your education, we have our Retirement Ready Toolkit, which includes guides on retirement tax savings. To receive this complimentary toolkit, call or text TAX to 414-409-9982. That's calling or texting TAX to 414-409-9982. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call or text now.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Loft Financial Advisory Group, LLC, a Wisconsin insurance agency. Clients are under no obligation to purchase any recommended insurance products.
It's time to make the call. It's time to get that lasting relief you deserve from that awful joint pain in 2024. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik for QC Kinetics. Hey, don't go another year compromising because of that awful pain in your knees or your shoulder. Give a call to QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative, non-surgical pain relief. Now, the best part is your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. That means no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. QC Kinetics can make it happen. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetics providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, with hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. And it's not a Band-Aid fix. This is revolutionary. It's treatment that can get you moving again and get your life back. Take the first step now. Give a call to QC Kinetics. A free consultation awaits. 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474.
It's WTMJ Now.
Welcome back to WTMJ Now. I am Democrat Joe Zepecki, alongside my friend Republican Bill McCoshen. We are in for Steve Scafidi. And we've had a lot of fun the last couple of hours.
Flies by.
It does fly by. We've chopped it up on immigration. We've talked a lot of football. We're going to get to some more fun. And we need to address one of the very serious events that happened in the world over the weekend. 3 American service members lost their lives in defense of this country. A couple dozen, I think the reports were as many as 34 injured after a drone attack on a base in the country of Jordan. Overseas, the drone was launched by what are referred to most commonly as Iranian-backed Houthis. That is a militia-type group that operates in Iran and parts of Iraq and other parts of the Middle East. This is the real stuff. This is, for all of the shouting and hollering and, who's up, who's down, and political scoreboard watching. I think a very sobering reminder of just how serious the leadership of this country, our foreign policy, our national security, sort of the state of the world is. And so I just want to first, send my heartfelt condolences to the families of those impacted, certainly the 3 who lost their life, but also 34 American service members who were injured, who surely have, some coming back to do. And I'll, feel free to jump in and
fully support that. It's, I think what this last few days has taught us is we have to get serious, right? When there are U.S. senators in both parties tweeting out bomb Tehran, I think that is so unserious and so unadult-like. That isn't a social media place for that discourse. I think that's one of the reasons we're such a mess between Israel and Gaza is it's all being fought, at least here on social media, and people don't have all the facts they need to make informed decisions. If you're a United States Senator, we expect you to be cautious, and we expect you to
sober,
do your homework, and be sober. If you are instantly tweeting out, bomb Tehran or take it to them, you're not a serious person, whether you're a male or a female. And I think it's learning time for everyone that, hey, there's a lot going on, and we're not in the most secure environment we have been. I frankly think that's to Donald Trump's advantage in the fall elections. But let's not be unserious about this stuff. Let's be sober. Let's be serious. Let's be adults.
I agree. It's you and I both have our teams, and we wear our team's jerseys, and we advocate for our folks. But I know that we agree on that, which is these issues have to be taken more seriously. There has to be less politics and more sanity. Because when you look around the globe, right? We've got the conflict in the Middle East. We've got the conflict in Ukraine, a Russian invasion. You have Latin American countries unstable. I think it was Ecuador where recently, a rebel group took over a broadcast of a major TV station. There are very serious, very real challenges that impact the United States and our interests. I will say in defense of the internet, there has been some criticism of the role that the U.S. Military has played in maintaining passage of commercial vessels in like the Red Sea and in some of these areas adjacent to conflicts, which led to, of course, a real history lesson in that actually since the Barbary pirates and Thomas Jefferson was president, one of the foremost roles of the U.S. military has been to ensure the safe, production of commerce around the world. And our Navy in 1803, when the pirates of Tripoli were pirating, is not what it is today. But there is this is one of those things that we mean when we shorthand to America is the indispensable nation, and we are the superpower that the world needs for there to be any hope of global stability, because we have the ability not just to commit materiel and arms and the bodies to the soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines who make sure that the world is safe for commerce. We have the convening power to bring our allies from Britain into these types of strikes and into these types of security plans. And so what I would ask as this plays out in the next couple of days, and what I mean by this is we don't know, but we believe that there will be a response. President Biden and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin have both said there will be accountability, there will be a response to this most recent attack from Houthi rebels. And so in the meantime, senators, congresspeople, you don't need to score points on Twitter. You just don't.
Right. There's no upside to it. I'd sit back, let the facts be learned, and then let the response be decided. I think it'll be bipartisan, maybe not completely, but there will be overwhelming support for a response of some kind. So let the process play out. You don't have to prove you're a tough guy or tough lady on Twitter or X by saying bomb Tehran. To me, that means you're not serious.
Yep. Amen to that. And bless the memories of those service members who have lost. Watch over their families. And
we're going to find out what Taylor Swift thinks about the Houthis in the next segment, aren't we?
Oh, boy. We're going to switch gears massively in the next segment.
Oh, we're bringing it home with some fun.
There's apparently a whole slice of the internet that I've never been to, and Bill is going to try to teach me up on what's going on out there. Stay with us. More with Joe and Bill on WTMJ Now after the break.
More of WTMJ Now after this.
I'm WTMJ's Sandy Max. What makes senior living at Three Pillars so special? It's all about living life how you choose. Take it from my friend Dint at Three Pillars.
After my husband passed, I started to think about maybe moving to a senior living place. After investigating many places, I moved into Three Pillars and I got to know so many people. Living life at Three Pillars, you can live life to the max, however you choose to do it.
Schedule a tour today at threepillars.org.
It's the last resort that comes with a grueling and painful recovery. And from what I've been told, it never really feels quite natural. A total knee replacement may make the pain you're living with eventually go away, but it opens up a Pandora's box of other possible issues. And that's why surgeons who really do care will tell you that it's a last resort. There are other surgeons who cry, "Replace! Replace!" But the physicians you'll find at Rejuvenex are primarily concerned with relief. And you may find out that the relief we give you helps so much so that you may not need to get that total knee replacement. This is Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Clinics. Our FDA-approved pain treatments aid inflammation and lubricate your joints. And in most cases, insurance has been shown to cover the costs. At Rejuvenex, we can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Adrian was seriously injured when a careless driver merged into her lane.
Gruber was there for everything that I needed. Any questions that I had, Gruber was there. They made me feel like everything about my situation and my accident was very important to them, and that made me feel good. And I would definitely call Gruber again for that.
Serving Wisconsin for over 35 years, Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
They go above and beyond for their clients.
For over a century, local radio has evolved with the needs of the community. From politics to pop culture, we keep you informed, bringing you the most relevant news, online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
You know, it feels good when I find something really cool and get a great deal on it. But it feels even better when I know that the money I spend actually goes directly to helping others. That's why I shop at St. Vincent de Paul, because I always find the best bargains, and the money I spend stays in Milwaukee County to help fight hunger and eliminate poverty. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton in Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
WTMJ Now.
WTMJ Now, that's us. No Steve Scafidi. Couple more segments before we're out of here. Bill's been teasing me all day. He says, Joe, there's a whole conversation happening out there that you know nothing about. We've talked a lot about Taylor Swift. She's everywhere.
She's everywhere.
And I think that's good for the world. But apparently there's a whole part of this conversation that suggests maybe she is what?
A psyop.
A psyop?
Democratic Party or the deep state, potentially both.
So no wonder I'm such a fan of Taylor Swift.
Absolutely. You're in on it. You're totally in on it.
What did I do? What did the deep state do here?
So they're setting her up with all this media attention and Pfizer boy, Travis Kelce,
oh
right?
My God.
For her endorsement of Joe Biden at the appropriate time. Let me say a couple things. Taylor Swift is now dividing my household. My wife is a massive sports fan, which is one of the reasons I love her so much.
Okay.
She's done with Taylor Swift. I am a massive sports fan. I'm not done with Taylor Swift. I think she's good for the NFL. I think she's good for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think she's bringing more eyeballs in. So I think she's growing the game, believe it or not. So I'm good with her. But on the internet, and I don't even think this is the dark web. I mean, these are people that I just
got a crazy tweet served to me. I finally got a sense of what you were talking about.
That are convinced that she is somehow part of the Democratic machine and that at the appropriate time, she's going to endorse Joe Biden. Let me say a couple things. Number one, she is the most popular performer in the world, not in the United States, in the world. Mm-hmm. Number two, Travis Kelce is one of the most popular sports figures in America. They are like the dream couple, right? Whether you like that
America's
or dislike
sweethearts.
America's sweethearts. They clearly were in love yesterday. All of that fun stuff. I don't care what she thinks about politics. I expect her to endorse Joe Biden. Let me say something about Donald Trump as a performer himself. If he could get her to endorse, he would.
He would in a
There's
heartbeat.
no question he would. So stop the nonsense and the tinfoil hat stuff. She's not some psyop. I'm here to tell you today she will endorse Joe Biden at some point in time.
She hasn't.
And
did
it
she in
will
the past?
move voters in the young category.
Did she endorse him in 2020?
She baked cookies that said Biden 2020 on them.
I do recall, now it's coming back to me, that she did something so political within the last couple of months. She put out a message encouraging people to register to vote.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the nerve Right. Who does she think she is, using her power, using her platform to encourage people to register to vote among her millions of young fans?
Her. She is a brilliant business person. She is a billionaire,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't think she gets overtly political this year because it impacts at least part of her fan base. This is a Michael Jordan rule, right? Republicans buy Nike shoes too. But I do expect her to probably do something for Biden at some point. Maybe it's at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But if I'm the Trump team, I'm working her. I'm trying to get her neutral, either neutral or come to my side, because she does sway young women in particular. Like my 28-year-old daughter, who lives in California, is a Swiftie. I think she's been to 4 concerts, maybe 5. Spends ungodly amounts of money going to these things.
Dad must still be providing an allowance.
Oh, no. She's a travel nurse. She does quite well. That's part of the reason healthcare costs so much. Trust me. So, listen, Taylor Swift is who she is. I think the NFL has shrewdly used her to increase their brand, and she's increased her brand at the same time.
All right, so you've convinced me or educated me as to why Republicans are deathly afraid of Taylor Swift.
She moves voters.
But why are people suggesting she might be a Pentagon asset? What is that?
I think it has something to do with Kelsey and the Pfizer shot, and somehow it's all pre-planned. I don't believe any of that.
Because he's in, I've seen one commercial that he's in.
Yeah.
Where you can, and it's not a very good commercial,
no, it's not.
But it's like you can get your flu shot and your COVID booster at the same time.
Yeah, the State Farm ad is much better. Mahomes
from your
and
friends
Motto,
at
way
Pfizer.
Better. Yeah.
So that means what? Like, how does that even connect to Taylor Swift? He's in, like, he got compensated American dollars for his name, likeness, and image to appear in an ad.
Right.
He's doing the ad. But now that he's dating Taylor Swift, more people will care what he has to say?
It's all set up, right? You're missing it, Joe. You're missing it. I'm surprised for such a well-read and educated man as you that you can't see how obvious
that I can't see how this all connects.
Yeah,
yeah.
all
I feel like it's always Sunny in Philadelphia meme.
This election's
where Charlie Day is like connecting, the strings on the chalkboard. My God. Okay.
I'm for the Chiefs, I'm for Taylor Swift. I'm good with it.
And if you out there, dear listener, if Taylor Swift is getting your blood pressure up because you think she's a Pentagon asset, or because you're worried she's like a tool for the deep state,
switch the decaf.
Choose to care about other things. Really. We've got one more segment. I think we're going to get our friend Tracy Johnson in here for a little back and forth. And, if anybody in the text line has another question for us, we got a few minutes left. TMJ Talking text line is 855-616-1620. You can ask Bill or I anything, and we'll get to that and a little crosstalk with Tracy after this.
More of WTMJ now after this.
Creative Planning presents Rethink Your Money with John Hagenson, Saturday after